Chapter 1. Ding-a-ling. Accompanied by the sound of wind chimes, a sleepy boy in pajamas walked out of the room. The bright sunshine shone through the window into the corridor. A broom was sweeping the floor by itself, followed by a mop swinging wildly behind it. There is a picture frame on the wall of the corridor at intervals. Some of the picture frames are landscapes, and some are portraits. At this moment, a feather duster is floating in the air and cleaning them carefully. After stretching deeply, the boy finally opened his tearful eyes. His eyes were very special, they were purple. Purple represents mystery and nobility, just like the boy's short, shiny, black hair that is as lustrous as ebony, although at the moment its shape is similar to a chicken coop. Reaching out his hand and casually scratching his hair twice, the boy walked past the mop and broom and down the corridor. Soon, he arrived at the kitchen door. The fire on the kitchen stove is burning brightly, and the pot is bubbling with an enticing aroma. A spoon is stirring the ingredients in the pot clockwise at a constant speed to ensure that the ingredients do not stick to the bottom of the pot and cause it to get burnt. There is also a boiling kettle next to it. I walked over and picked up the kettle. A cup on the shelf next to it very smartly jumped from the shelf to the table. As the reddish-brown liquid flowed into the cup, the refreshing tea aroma lifted the boy's spirits. As the tea poured out of the spout of the kettle, it suddenly turned milky white, accompanied by a milky aroma. When no more water can be poured out of the kettle, the ratio of tea to milk in the cup is exactly 3:2. Picking up the cup of water, the young man walked out of the kitchen, and after nodding to a moving portrait on the wall, he came to the hall. At this moment, an old man with white hair was sitting on the sofa in the hall. If someone from the magic world saw this old man, they would definitely scream, because he is the legendary alchemist in the magic world, Nicholas Flamel. "Oh, Remy, you're up. What do you think about what I told you yesterday?" Nicholas Flamel put down the newspaper in his hand and asked kindly, while extending his hand to signal the boy he called Remy to sit down. Sitting next to Nicholas Flamel, Remy reached out and opened a small wooden box on the table in front of him, and took out a grey translucent cube the size of a sugar cube and placed it in the cup. The cube melted instantly as soon as it was placed in the cup. After taking a sip of the fragrance, Remy seemed to be more energetic. "Master, I still want to go back to Ying country to study," Remy said. "Are you sure you won't think about it again?" Nicholas Flamel asked. "There are many more female students at Beauxbatons School of Witchcraft and Wizardry than at Hogwarts, and they are much prettier too." Remy immediately rolled his eyes. "Do I look like that kind of superficial person?" "Okay, but Hogwarts is a magic school in the UK, and I'm afraid it can only provide your most hated food. But Beauxbatons School of Witchcraft and Wizardry is a magic school in France, and the school provides all your favorite French cuisine," Nicholas Flamel continued. After taking a sip of milk tea, Remy shook his head. "I have to correct you. Although I do hate French food, my favorite is not French food, but Huxia food." "Oh? I haven't heard you say that. Then let's have Huxia food today? Would you like to have crab wontons? Maybe the store will also give us a fortune cookie," Nicholas Flamel said with a smile. When Remy heard Nicholas Flamel mention crab meat wontons, he suddenly felt his stomach surging like Nezha making trouble in the sea. "No need to bother, thank you. I don't feel like eating Huxia food at all now," said Remy. "Really?" Nicholas Flamel smiled and handed the newspaper to Remy. "You insisted on going back to Yingguo to study. It should be for him, right?" I glanced at the newspaper and saw the headline on the front page, "Shock. The boy who lived will be attending Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry this year, to study." "Remy. What third-rate tabloid published this newspaper?" "Oh, the Daily Prophet. That's okay, I'll just assume it's just my ignorance. Half and half. My main purpose is to learn magic from Mr. Dumbledore, the greatest wizard of this century. I have been studying here for 2 years, but you refuse to teach me any magic," Remy complained. "You don't even have your own wand. How can I teach you magic? Am I supposed to teach you how to cast spells without a wand? Sure. You just need to discipline me, and I'll leave the rest to miracles." Nicholas Flamel shook his head helplessly, picked up the coffee cup on the table and took a sip of coffee. "You will soon have your own wand, and then you will naturally be able to learn magic." Standing up, Nicholas Flamel walked towards the kitchen, leaving Remy alone in the living room. After taking another sip of milk tea, Remy put down the cup and picked up the newspaper to read the description of the boy who survived the disaster, his mind full of thoughts. "As a time traveler, if I travel to Harry Potter's magical world, instead of looking for Harry, can I look for Voldemort? Even if we go find Voldemort, Voldemort is in Ying country, not France. Besides, Remy had already learned about the management system of Beauxbatons School of Witchcraft and Wizardry from Nicholas Flamel. It was much stricter than Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. He didn't want to go to jail in Beauxbatons School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. After reading the newspaper for a while, Nicholas Flamel called Remy to the restaurant for dinner. Remy has been living here since he was taken in as an apprentice by Nicholas Flamel 2 years ago. Nicholas Flamel took care of him like his grandfather and taught him the basics of the magic world and alchemy anecdotes. But he never taught Remy any magic, nor any alchemy formula, not even the theory. In the words of Nicholas Flamel, Remy is still young and there is no need to waste his best years on such boring things. What's more, Remy is a natural master of alchemy. Even without any formula, he can refine the alchemical items he wants, as long as he can afford the price. The essence of alchemy lies in equal exchange. Nicholas Flamel prepared a table full of dishes today, as if he had already anticipated that Remy would choose to leave. The meal was very sumptuous, a standard French feast, with great color, aroma, and taste, and the presentation was also very exquisite. In the world of ordinary people, even the top chefs would not be able to prepare so many dishes by themselves in such a short time. So this is the magical world, the unscientific magical world. By the way, Remy, how is the magic baby? Are you sure it has not developed independent consciousness? Asked Nicholas Flamel. It's steady, don't worry, master. Remy said. How can I be assured? After all, this has never appeared before. Nicholas Flamel said helplessly, when you arrive at Hogwarts, go find Dumbledore and ask him to help you. He is better than me in magical attainments. Remy paused for a moment, nodded and continued eating. Chapter 2. The sun is scorching in July, the weather is warm in September, the sky is blue and the air is cool in August. After leaving the airport, Remy subconsciously tightened his coat and quickly got into a taxi. Little boy, where are you going? The driver asked kindly. An authentic London accent, so authentic. This is London, after all. Go to 101 Maple Road west of Hyde Park. This is a bit far, are you going home? I have money. Oh, okay, please fasten your seat belts. If you're not in a hurry, you can take a rest. It will take us about half an hour to get there. Okay. The driver drove steadily and not very fast, which gave Remy plenty of time to enjoy the scenery outside the window. But I got bored after watching it for a while. It's just a city. He had seen a lot of it in his previous life and was already tired of it. The taxi drove at a steady speed and arrived at the destination smoothly after 20 minutes. After paying and getting off the car, the driver helped Remy take out her luggage from the trunk. It is said that one becomes more nervous when one is close to home. Remy did not feel anything in the car before, but when he arrived at the doorstep of his home, he suddenly felt a little nervous. Taking a deep breath, Remy pulled his suitcase to the door and pressed the doorbell. Ding dong after a while, a middle-aged woman with blonde hair and blue eyes opened the door and appeared in front of Remy. They looked at each other, both confused. You are? Remy came back to his senses and subconsciously glanced at the house number. It is number 101, for sure. Did I remember it wrong? Hello, ma'am, is Mr. Barrett here? Remy asked. Are you a relative of Mr. Barrett? The middle-aged woman glanced at the luggage next to Remy and smiled. Mr. Barrett moved away a year ago. Remy. WTF. Why didn't you tell me about the move? Nicholas Flamel has a phone. Looking at Remy, whose face was in a mess, the middle-aged woman stepped aside to make way for him. If you don't mind, come in and sit for a while. I have Mr. Barrett's private phone number. Thank you so much, what should I call you? My name is Remy. You can call me Miss Sandy. I'm a middle school teacher. Okay, Miss Sandy. When I entered the house, I saw that many of the furniture in the living room were still familiar styles. It seemed that they were not taken away when the house was sold. Teacher Sandy first poured Remy a cup of tea, then took out a small notebook from the cabinet and searched for a phone number. After dialing the phone and waiting for a while, Teacher Sandy made an OK gesture to Remy. Hello, is this Mr. Barrett? I'm Sandy, the person who bought your house a year ago. No, there's nothing wrong with the house, everything is fine, I called you to ask where you moved to, because a kid named Remy just came here to see you. Remy. The sudden increase in volume startled Teacher Sandy, and even Remy, who was sitting on the sofa, could hear it clearly. Oh, it's okay. Okay, I'll let him answer the phone. Teacher Sandy said as she motioned for Remy to come over. Remy stood up and walked over to answer the phone. Remy didn't say anything, and neither did the other party. If it weren't for the constant subtle noise coming from the phone, Remy would have suspected that the other party had hung up. Where did our family move to? And why didn't you tell me in advance? Remy asked. Teacher Sandy looked at Remy in surprise. Ahem, your mother has been depressed since you left, so I moved our family to Canterbury to help her relax. It's not a big city, the pace of life there is slower, and the environment is nice. Are you on summer vacation? When Remy heard the last sentence, he exploded instantly after feeling somewhat relieved after hearing the previous parts. Summer vacation? What date is August already? I have to start school tomorrow. Oh, time flies. Then why are you going back to Ying country? Are you going to transfer to another school? Go to school first, and I will handle the transfer procedures for you in a while. Transfer? Remy raised his eyebrows. My dear father, do you still remember which school I went to? Yeah, what school did you go to? A magic school? Did you learn any magical skills? Remy got even angrier when he heard the sudden excitement in the other person's voice. I'm not old enough to go to school yet. I won't start until tomorrow. Before now I was just living at Mr. Flamel's house and studying with him. Where are you now? Come pick me up. The person on the other end was silent for a while before coughing awkwardly, and his voice became much lower. Your mother and I are in Australia discussing business. Remy. Blanche? Remy's full name is Remy Barrett. He is a relative of Barrett, the inventor of the Barrett heavy sniper rifle and magnesium. His parents both work for Barrett Corporation. Because they live in Ying country, Remy's parents are mainly responsible for the business in Ying country. Their job is to lobby cabinet ministers to purchase guns for the army. Actually, they are salesmen. The arms business is similar to the antique business. If you don't open for 3 years, you can make a profit for 3 years after you open it. Before Remy went to study with Nicholas Flamel, the two of them often took Remy around the world, under the pretext of expanding business, but in fact it was a funded tour. Now they say they are doing business in Australia, but Remy doesn't believe a word of it. He must be traveling again. Otherwise, what's the point of Australia buying Barrett sniper rifles? To snipe kangaroos? If the kangaroo knew about this, he would probably call it a violation of martial ethics. Are you going to go through the admission procedures? Do we have to be there? But even if we book tickets now, we can't get back to Ying country within a day. Can I use the fax machine to send a statement of entrustment of guardian to Mr. Nicholas Flamel? Mr. Barrett asked weakly. Forget it. A teacher will pick me up to go to school tomorrow. You guys can have fun over there. What are you playing? My dear son, your mother and I are really. Honey, what do you think of this dress? Does it look good? I think it's perfect for taking photos with kangaroos, and that one, it must be beautiful standing with penguins, and. Ahem, well, I have something else to do, so I'll hang up first. Hope you have fun at school. No, I hope you study hard. That's all. Bye. Beep, beep, beep. Remy. I really want to treat you to a big watermelon. After hanging up the phone with a gloomy face, Remy politely thanked Teacher Sandy, picked up his suitcase and was about to leave, but Teacher Sandy stopped him. Where are you going? You should sit for a while and wait for your father to pick you up. It's okay. Teacher Sandy said. Wait for them to pick me up? They were obviously going to pick up kangaroos and penguins. My father is in Australia now, and he asked me to stay at my aunt's house first. Oh. Then I'll drive you there. Thank you, but no thanks. I know the way to my aunt's house. It's not far from here. Chapter 3. First year students need to prepare 3 sets of plain work robes and a wand. It's just basic equipment, Harry. A pair of dragon hide gloves, Hagrid. Are they real dragon skin? It can't be the skin of a penguin, right? On the subway, a little kid named Harry was talking loudly with a giant man in a floral dress and fluffy hair, oblivious to the people around him. Others looked at this strange pair curiously and listened to the incomprehensible words they said, thinking that they were doing performance art or filming a movie. They just didn't know where the camera was hidden. And a crucible. Can you buy these in London, Hagrid? Of course, as long as you know the way. Where are we going to buy it then? Oxford Street. No, we're going to Diagon Alley. Diagon Alley? Where is that? Are we going to Diagon Alley now? No, we have to pick someone up before we go to Diagon Alley. He, like you, will also be enrolled this year. As he spoke, Hagrid took out a pitiful little piece of paper that was smaller than his palm from his dirty coat pocket and held it in front of his eyes to look at it carefully. Well, we should get off at the next stop, Hagrid said. Yet. Harry put away the acceptance letter, feeling both excited and nervous about the person he was about to meet. Are you going to meet someone like you? What kind of person is he? Does he have magical powers like Hagrid? Harry's mind was in a mess until Hagrid told him to get out of the car. After wandering around a bit, Harry followed Hagrid to a residential street. Continuing along the street, Harry soon saw a very strange person. It was a man who looked about the same age as him, but taller. He was standing under the street lights in the early morning, drinking something from a teacup in his hand, and a full set of tea set was placed on the suitcase next to him. He saw Harry as Harry saw him. At the same time, Hagrid also noticed this strange boy. Muggle repelling charm? You are Remy Barrett, right? I didn't expect you to have mastered this level of magic. By the way, I'm here to take you to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. This is your admission letter. Hagrid walked forward and said. Thank God you are finally here. The tea I was waiting for is almost cold. Remy took the letter with a sense of relief and quickly opened it. Headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Albus Dumbledore. President of the International Confederation of Magic, President of the Wizarding Association, First-Class Magician of the Order of Merlin, dear Mr. Barrett, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to study at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Enclosed is a list of required books and equipment. The semester is scheduled to start on September 1st. We will be waiting for your owl to bring your reply before July 31st. Sincerely, Vice Principal, Female, Minerva McGonagall. I'm afraid I won't be able to reply to Professor McGonagall before July 31st. My teacher won't let me play with the time turner, Remy said. That thing is indeed dangerous, but why are you standing here instead of at home? Hagrid asked puzzledly. Don't mention it. My parents moved away without telling me, and I'm embarrassed to stay in someone else's house, so I have no choice but to wait here. All right. Hagrid shrugged and then suddenly remembered something and pushed Harry. I forgot to introduce you to him. He is Harry, Harry Potter. Maybe you have heard rumors about him. Hagrid said. So you are the boy who lived. I was thinking of going to find you when I get to Hogwarts. My name is Remy, Remy Barrett. Remy said, stretching out his hand. Thank you. Harry shook Remy's hand, but he was confused. But what do you mean by the boy who lived? I don't quite understand. Haven't you heard the legend about yourself? No. Harry shook his head. Can you tell me what they say about me? Why do they say I'm the boy who lived? How do I put this? Remy scratched his head, then picked up the kettle and poured 2 cups of black tea and handed them to Hagrid and Harry respectively. In the magic world of Ying Country, there once appeared a little jerk called Puff. Hagrid, who had just taken a sip of tea, immediately spat out the tea. Fortunately, he was tall enough, so even though he was facing Remy at the moment, he didn't spray Remy in the face. Ahem, we usually call him the Dark Lord here. Hagrid said. Oh, there's this little jerk called the Dark Lord. Hagrid. Well, if you are happy. He calls himself Voldemort. Blanche. Hagrid's eyes suddenly widened and he quickly reached out to cover Remy's mouth. Remy, don't call him by his name directly. He has cast a magic on his name. He will know it as long as someone says his name. Hagrid said. Pulling Hagrid's hand away, Remy rolled his eyes in annoyance. If he knows, then so be it. What can he do if he knows? What good would it do even if I knew? Hagrid was stunned. At this moment, Remy stretched out his hand and pointed to the sky. Voldemort, I'm going to cross you. Silence, silence for 3 full seconds. 3 seconds later, Remy calmly poured himself another cup of tea. Look, that little jerk didn't do anything to me, did he? Am I still alive and well? Hagrid. Harry. Do your family members know that you are so fierce? By the way, where was I just now? Remy asked. There's a little, dark lord named Voldemort who wants to rule the entire wizarding world. Harry reminded weakly. Did it take me so long to even begin? Well, anyway, that little punk wanted to rule the wizarding world, and your parents didn't submit to him, so he wanted to kill your parents. When you were 1 year old, he killed your parents, but you, who were with them, survived, and the little punk disappeared after that. Remy said quickly. That's why people in the magic world call you the boy who lived. Some people also think that you defeated that little jerk and call you the savior. Hagrid listened silently, speechless. It is clearly an epic poem with magnificent waves and passionate spirit, but when you speak it, it sounds as ordinary and unremarkable as a fight between thugs. So, my parents were killed by that man called Voldemort? Harry asked. It is said that so, but I didn't see it with my own eyes. Hagrid, where are we going now? Diagon Alley. Remy asked. Ah, yes, we are going to Diagon Alley to buy the items you two will need for school. Following Remy's words and changing the subject, Hagrid took the two of them to the subway station after Remy packed up the tea set. Chapter 4. Remy, did you grow up in a magical world? Do you know a lot of magic? No, I just moved in with my teacher 2 years ago, and the place we live in is not considered a magical community, and I don't know any magic. Really? But didn't Hagrid just say that you can use Muggle? Muggle. Muggle repelling charm, Hagrid reminded. Yes, it's the Muggle repelling charm. I didn't perform that magic myself. Reaching into his pocket and pulling out a card about the size of a bank card and handing it to Harry, Remy continued to explain. My teacher is an alchemist. This is a magic card he created. You only need to inject magic power to activate the magic stored in it. I used it to cast the Muggle expelling charm before. That's amazing. Does that mean I can use it, too? Yes, as long as you know how to control the magic power in your body. Can you let me see it? Harry glanced at Hagrid and reluctantly handed the magic card, which was not yet warm, to Hagrid. Carefully taking the magic card, Hagrid looked at it left and right but couldn't figure out what it meant. He could only look to Remy for help. Can I try it? Hagrid asked Remy eagerly. Remy nodded, of course. But don't inject too much magic power at once, do it little by little. Hagrid's face lit up with joy, and he immediately controlled the magic power in his body and injected it into the magic card in his hand. 5 seconds later, even Harry, who had never been exposed to magic, felt that some changes seemed to have taken place around him, and Hagrid's face turned red with excitement. Great! This invention is so great! Remy, Nico, does your teacher have any extra magic cards? Can you sell me some? Hagrid asked excitedly. You're not trying to resell it to the squibs in the wizarding world, are you? They can't use it. They can't control the magic power in their bodies, otherwise they wouldn't be squibs. Remy teased. No, I'm not going to resell it, I want to use it myself. At this point, Hagrid suddenly became a little shy. To tell you the truth, well, because of some things, the Ministry of Magic forbade me to use a wand, so. I see. Remy nodded and thought for a moment. I don't have any extra ones at the moment, but I can write to the teacher and ask him to make some. What kind of magic do you need? This needs to be customized in advance. Thank you so much. Hagrid rubbed his hands excitedly after returning the magic card to Remy. I don't need very powerful magic, just the magic that can be used in daily life, such as levitation, ignition, lighting. Harry listened curiously as Hagrid said the names of the spells one by one, imagining how they would be performed in his mind, and his yearning for the wizarding world increased a little more. The subway sped along the track, and after passing 3 more stations, the 3 of them left the subway station together and came to the ground. Looking around, it's just an ordinary commercial street. It's not prosperous, but it's not bad either. At least you can see people. Following Hagrid all the way, Hagrid finally brought them to a blunt corner. Between 2 extremely modern shops, there stands a strange-looking shop with only a tightly fitted wooden door. It looks very out of place, and the color of the facade is very dark. Remy couldn't help but think of a sacred shop, the coffin shop. As he got closer, Remy noticed that words had quietly appeared on the sign, which had originally been blank, Vixen Bar. Ahem, it's the Leaky Cauldron. As he approached, Harry felt a familiar feeling. Were Muggle-repelling charms cast here as well? Harry asked. You are indeed a magical genius, Harry. You will definitely become a great wizard. After praising Harry, Hagrid pushed open the door and a loud noise came out immediately. The tables were filled with people of all kinds and people who didn't look like humans. Some of them were drinking normal drinks, while others were drinking unknown liquids that were bubbling and emitting strange heat. Several old witches who looked like cat-like women were smoking their big pipes and staring at the door with glowing eyes, which was extremely weird. Welcome to the wizarding world, how does it feel? Hagrid asked. Harry, that's cool. If I were a Muggle parent, unless I was crazy, I would never let my child go to study in the wizarding world alone, said Remy. Why? Hagrid asked, confused. A dark and dirty tavern, with ugly creatures drinking unknown liquids. Oh my god, some of them even eat raw meat. Oh my god, which parent would be so bold as to let their children stay with these people? Remy said. His voice was not loud, but not small either. As he spoke, the tavern suddenly became much quieter. Ahem. Actually, there's more than one entrance to Diagon Alley. This is the one used by wizards. Hagrid explained patiently, then turned around, glanced around the pub and shook his shoulders. With his huge size, such a move was quite intimidating, and the tavern quickly returned to normal. Are you here? Still the same as before, the tavern owner greeted Hagrid. No, Tom, I'm on duty. I see, you're taking the freshmen to buy study supplies? I never thought you'd get such an assignment. Oh, my god, this is... Could this be Harry Potter? It's my honor to have you come to the Leaky Cauldron. The bar owner ran out from behind the bar excitedly, grabbed Harry's hand and shook it violently. Harry Potter? Really Harry Potter? Oh my god, I waited for so long that I thought the Daily Prophet was talking nonsense again, but I didn't expect to actually wait for Mr. Harry Potter. Mr. Potter, it's an honor to meet you. Welcome back to the wizarding world, Mr. Potter. There was a loud crackling noise, and everyone in the pub stood up and came over to shake Harry's hand. Their arrival immediately pushed Remy out. I'm not envious at all. With a sour grumble, Remy was about to pour himself a glass of wine to get drunk, but suddenly he smelled a strong smell of garlic that was getting stronger. I turned around and, hey, guess what? Professor Quirrell, a typical professor, was tiptoeing towards Harry like a wronged young wife. Tisk, luckily I was squeezed out, otherwise I would have been suffocated to death. It was a blessing in disguise. Remy sat on the high chair and quietly watched Harry, whose face was flushed with excitement, clumsily responding to the compliments of wizard after wizard. Remy believed that Harry's mind must be blank at this moment. After a while, the huge Hagrid was also squeezed out by the crowd. Noticing Remy, Hagrid suddenly slapped his forehead in annoyance. Chapter 5. I'm so sorry, Remy, Actually, you don't have to envy Harry too much. When the day comes when you reveal your identity, you will definitely be more popular. Hagrid walked up to Remy and said softly. People's joys and sorrows are not shared, I just think they are noisy. Okay. Speechless, the two waited quietly for the crazy crowd to calm down. When the excitement faded, Hagrid squeezed back into the crowd and led Harry out, then called for Remy to follow. Leading the two of them through the bar to a small patio surrounded by walls on all sides, Hagrid took out his umbrella and pointed it at the wall while muttering to himself. Count 3 from the top, and 2 from the side. Damn it, why do I have to change it every once in a while? It's really unfriendly. Okay, we found it. You two stand back. As he spoke, Hagrid tapped the wall 3 times with the tip of his umbrella. The stone bricks he hit immediately shook and began to move. Not just that one brick, but a large area of bricks around it were moving, and in the blink of an eye, an archway wide enough for Hagrid to pass through appeared. On the other side of the arch is a winding cobblestone alley. Welcome to Diagon Alley. He saluted like a gentleman, as if he were a butler, but it looked a little funny considering his huge size. Harry turned to look at Remy, who shrugged and extended his hand to slightly signal Harry to go first. Harry nodded, took a deep breath and walked through the archway. His back revealed a resolute determination, as if he was going not to Diagon Alley in September, but to the execution ground in July. After passing through the arch and looking back, I saw that the bricks on the wall moved again and turned into a solid wall again. Remy, follow me. Oh well. I took a few quick steps to catch up with Hagrid. The dazzling sunlight was shining on the street and on the storefronts on both sides of the street, making them sparkle. Harry looked at everything around him curiously, his head almost spinning like a rattle. Remy took out the letter Hagrid had given him and looked at the appendix at the back, while thinking about what else he needed to buy. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry uniform. First-year students need to 1. 3 sets of plain work robes, black, 2. A plain peaked hat for daytime wear, black, 3. A pair of protective gloves, made of dragon leather or similar materials, 4. A winter cape, black with silver buttons. Please note, all student clothing must have a name tag. Textbook. All students are required to prepare the following books: The Standard Book of Spells, Elementary, by Miranda Goshawk. A History of Magic, by Bathilda Bagshot. The Theory of Magic, by Adalbert Waffling. The Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration, by Emery Sweech. 1000 Wonderful Herbs and Fungi, by Phil Littispar. Magic Pharmacy and Potions, by Arsene Geiger. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, by Newt Scamander. The Dark Arts, A Guide to Self-Defense, by Quentin Trimble. Other Equipment: a magic wand, a crucible, pewter, standard size 2, a set of glass or crystal files, a telescope, a brass balance. Students may bring an owl, a cat, or a toad. Parents are kindly reminded that first-year students are not allowed to bring their own broomsticks. There are so many school supplies to buy, and I don't think I have enough money on me. Hagrid, let's go to Gringotts first. Remy said. I'm taking you to Gringotts now. By the way, I forgot to ask you before, did you bring the key? Did you lose it? Hagrid asked. Don't worry, I will never let anything go out of my hands. Granddad would kowtow to me and call me an expert when he sees me. Harry. This is the first time I've heard someone describe themselves like this. Walking in Diagon Alley, probably because school is about to start, there are not many people of the same age on the street, but there are quite a few children. They gathered in front of the windows of pet shops and flying broom shops, having heated discussions, commenting on the goods inside and expressing their unique insights on each product. Other magic supply stores such as bookstores are completely deserted by children. Following Hagrid all the way, they soon came to a tall white building at a fork in the road. The building was crooked, but it still looked much more imposing than all the surrounding shops. Especially its huge, shining bronze gate and the waiters standing beside the gate wearing red uniforms inlaid with gold. It is obvious that it is a high-end club place. This person is. Yes, he is the goblin I told you about this morning. After getting Hagrid's confirmation, Harry couldn't help but look at the goblin a few more times. This goblin is very short and seems to be quite old. His face is full of wrinkles and he has a pointed goatee. His ears are long and pointed and his nose is particularly large. When they reached the door, the goblin immediately bowed to them, and Harry was shocked and quickly returned the greeting. When he noticed that neither Hagrid nor Remy returned the greeting, Harry quickly stood up again. Seeing Harry's lips move slightly as if he was confused, Remy said, although goblins are allies of humans, they have betrayed humans before, so there is no need to be too polite to them, and this place is like a bank in the Muggle world, we are customers. Oh, so that's how it is. After passing through the bronze gate and walking a few dozen steps on the marble floor, a second door appeared in front of them. The door was silver, with a few lines of text engraved on both doors. Come in, stranger, but be careful what will happen if you are greedy. Just asking for something without working for it, will be punished most severely. So if you want to take a portion of our underground vault that was never yours, you have been warned, thief. Be careful, or you may attract bad consequences instead of treasure. See, like I said this morning, no one would want to rob this place unless they were crazy, said Hagrid. Harry nodded repeatedly, while Remy on the side curled his lips in disdain. If he had a system that could issue rewards for robbing Gringotts, he would guarantee that he would rob this place in minutes. Although he doesn't know any magic now, Remy is confident about his future, absolute confidence. As a time traveler, although Remy does not have a system, he does have plug-ins, and he has 2 plug-ins. One is a plug-in that comes with birth. Remy is a natural master of alchemy. Another cheat was created by Remy himself after his magic awakened. This acquired cheat is more powerful than the innate cheat that he was born with. Chapter 6. Passing through the silver door, the three entered a tall marble hall, led by 2 goblins who looked like lobby managers. There are long counters on both sides of the hall, and behind each long counter there are 4 or 5 fairies sitting evenly. Some of them were sitting on high stools, doing the accounting, some were using scales to weigh some gems, and some were using eyepieces to examine the jewelry. There were doors all around the hall, and many people were going in and out of these doors under the guidance of the goblins, making people dizzy. Hagrid didn't look anywhere else. He walked straight to the middle and highest counter at the end of the hall. The counter was very high, and even Hagrid could only look directly at the goblin behind the counter, while Harry and Remy could only be looked down upon by him. This made Remy very unhappy. In today's magical world, human wizards are in an absolute dominant position. How dare a tiny goblin treat all human wizards in such a condescending manner? He really has evil ambitions. Morning. Hagrid greeted the goblin behind the counter. We need to get some money from Mr. Harry Potter's safe. Have you got his key, sir? Oh, yes, wait a moment and let me look for it. A flash of panic suddenly flashed across Hagrid's big head, and he took out everything from his pocket and put it on the counter. It was just that he was tall enough, and the others would probably have to squat on the ground to search. Found it! Phew! With a sigh of relief, Hagrid handed the goblin a small and exquisite golden key. The goblin looked it over carefully and nodded to Hagrid. Although there are a lot of dog biscuit residues on it, it should be fine. Oh, by the way, I also have a letter from Headmaster Dumbledore. It's about the thing in the underground vault No. 713. Hagrid said, taking out a letter from his arms and handing it to the goblin. He preserved the letter very well. Apart from some slight wrinkles, there was no other damage. The goblin took the letter and read it carefully, then returned it to Hagrid. I can find someone to take you to these 2 underground vaults, but there is another door in that vault. If you don't have the key, you can't enter. Don't worry, we have the keys. Hagrid glanced at Remy and said. That's good, Griphook. An elf came running over, adjusted his appearance, and took a breath before leading the 3 people through a door and out of the hall. What's in the underground vault number 713? It actually requires 2 doors. Harry asked. I can't tell you that. Hagrid said mysteriously, this is an absolute secret about Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Hearing Hagrid say this, Harry suddenly became even more curious, so he looked at Remy inquiringly. Don't look at me, I'm just a key manager, I don't know what's inside. Remy said. Hagrid laughed and patted Remy on the shoulder. What a coincidence. I'm also a keykeeper at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. We're in the same industry. Remy bared his teeth immediately. How could his small body withstand the beating from the huge Hagrid? Noticing that Remy's expression was not right, Hagrid also realized his own problem and quickly apologized to Remy. After passing through another door, the 3 of them saw a stone corridor in front of them. It was much shabby compared to the hall outside. The light inside was very dim, with only torches on the wall providing illumination. This is a typical example of all show and no substance. Muttering softly, Remy followed Hagrid along the stone corridor. This stone corridor is a sloping downward passage with a bumpy road surface and a railway track at the end. Walking on it, Remy couldn't help but wonder if someone fell here and a car happened to come on the track, would he be hit and killed? If he was really hit and killed, would Gringotts compensate him? As he was lost in thought, he came to the end of the stone corridor. Griphook blew a whistle, and an old-fashioned minecart roared over. Please get in the car, distinguished guests, said Griphook. Hagrid looked at the small seat and couldn't help but look embarrassed. He let Harry and Remy go first, and then he took a lot of effort to squeeze himself into the seat. Remy even heard a crackling sound as if something was breaking. The minecar goes very fast, comparable to the roller coaster Remy has ridden before. The track layout here is as exciting as a roller coaster, but overall it still spirals downward. When passing by an underground lake, Harry suddenly pointed at the stalactites on the rocks next to him and said loudly, I have never been able to figure out, what is the difference between stalactites and stalagmites? Stalactite is spelled with an S. Hagrid replied palely, don't talk to me now, I feel like I'm going to vomit. Stalactites grow from top to bottom, while stalagmites grow from bottom to top like bamboo shoots, Remy explained patiently. Oh, thank you, don't you feel uncomfortable? I mean, don't you feel uncomfortable sitting in this car? Harry asked. No, I think it's quite fun, it would be better if the speed could be faster. Remy said with a smile. Hagrid. Are you afraid you are not a human being either? At least he doesn't look like a purebred human. For some reason, Hagrid suddenly remembered what Remy said in the bar before, people's joys and sorrows are not shared. At this moment, Hagrid had a deeper understanding of this sentence. If the person who said this was still alive, I would definitely treat him to a drink. Hagrid thought silently in his heart. But when he thought of wine, and then thought of being drunk, Hagrid suddenly felt his stomach getting even angrier. Quickly covering his mouth with his hands, Hagrid took deep breaths repeatedly, and finally did not vomit before the minecart stopped. Hagrid immediately pulled himself out of his seat and sat on the ground leaning against the aisle. If you didn't know him, you would think he had just experienced some horrific battle. At the end of the passage, Griphook took out a key and opened the door to the vault. As a burst of green smoke came out, a pile of gold coins, silver coins, and mountains of copper coins appeared in front of everyone. If the Weasleys saw this, they would probably faint from shock, right? Remy thought silently and at the same time had a question. Why did Harry's parents store so many copper and silver coins in Gringotts? They could have exchanged all of it for gold coins, but they kept so many silver and copper coins. Could it be that they were both hoarders? They took out cash every time they bought something, and then put the rest back in? Although he felt that this way of spending was a bit absurd, Remy couldn't figure out how else it was possible to save so many silver and copper coins. Chapter 7. Gold coins are galleons, silver coins are sickles, and bronze coins are nuts. 1 gold galleon equals 17 silver sickles. 1 sickle equals 29 nath. This exchange mechanism gave Remy a headache. He really couldn't understand why there had to be zeros and integers instead of decimals. Even 20 or 50 would be fine. Wizards' math skills are obviously worse than each other, but they make currency exchange so complicated. I really don't know who came up with this idea. Waiting quietly outside the door for Hagrid to help Harry get the money, Harry hesitated for a moment as he looked at Remy leaning against the door and yawning in boredom. Hagrid, I think my money is a lot, right? Harry asked in a low voice. Of course, the money you have makes you rich even in the entire wizarding world, said Hagrid. Then I'll take some more, maybe. Remy will need the money. Harry continued in a low voice. Hagrid was stunned for a moment, then smiled and shook his head. It's a good idea that you have this intention, but you don't have to worry about him. Although I don't know how much money he has, he is definitely not short of money. Harry didn't quite understand what Hagrid said, but he could only nod his head. After the two men had withdrawn their money, Remy stood and followed them. Next, take us to Vault 713, but can you drive slower? Hagrid asked. There's only one speed, sir. Oh, that's too bad. I suddenly don't want to go. After complaining dejectedly, Hagrid put on a tragic look as if the wind was whistling and the Yi River was cold, and the hero would never come back, and stuffed himself into the car again. After everyone was seated, the car started again and continued to move quickly downwards. Perhaps it was because Hagrid had adapted a little after the experience just now, his face looked much better this time than before, even though the car was actually going faster and faster as it went downwards. Because the further you go down, the steeper the track gets as the depth increases. At the same time the temperature is lower. When the car stopped again, Harry shuddered and exhaled a cloud of white steam with every breath. This safe is unusual at first glance because it has no key. Griphook walked to the vault door and opened it with just a swipe of his hand. The security level was -10,773. Fortunately, after the vault door was opened, there was another magnificent golden door inside. I can't open the door at the back either, you guys figure it out yourself. Griphook said as he walked to the side. Hagrid nodded and looked at Remy, and Harry also looked at Remy curiously. Remy squatted down, laid down the suitcase he was carrying and opened it. Under Harry's curious gaze, he saw that Remy's suitcase had a terraced structure like a makeup box, and each layer was a separate drawer. Pulling open the top drawer, Remy reached into it. The drawer looked to be only about 5 centimeters high, but Harry was surprised to see Remy put his entire arm in it. Found it. Remy closed the box with his foot and walked towards the vault door holding a shining golden key. As the key was inserted into the keyhole, the entire door suddenly disappeared like a mirage, and the key disappeared along with it. Wow, this is pretty cool, Remy's eyes lit up. I saw an open box in the vault, which was full of shiny gold coins. On the left side of the box is a stone platform, on which is placed a small package wrapped like a rice dumpling. Remy feels that it should be filled with candied dates. Zongzi is a magical food that breaks the common regional preference of sweet food in the south and salty food in the north. The reason is actually very simple. Flower growers generally prefer salty food for meals, but prefer sweet desserts, dim sum, and snacks. Therefore, the sweetness or saltiness of a snack in the local taste can roughly determine the status of this snack in the local eating habits. Remy is a little special, he likes to eat spicy rice dumplings. Hagrid went to get the rice dumplings, while Remy reopened the box and bent down to move it. In the end, it didn't move. Harry came over to help, but the box remained motionless. This is not because the box is enchanted, but because the box is too heavy. This box is 1 meter long, half a meter wide and half a meter high, which is 0.25 cubic meters. If it were filled with pure gold, it would weigh a staggering 4.8 tons. Although the gold coin does not completely fill up all the space at this moment because it is round, and the gold content of the gold coin is not 100%, its weight is still measured in tons. So after putting 20 gold coins into his pocket, Remy had to ask Hagrid for help. "Hagrid, please help me pour the gold coins in the box into my suitcase," Remy said. Hagrid's eyes widened immediately. "You want to take all the gold coins? Are you sure you have thought it through? There is no commercial street in Hogwarts. You don't need to carry so many gold coins with you." "I know. I will exchange all these gold coins for magic materials later," Remy said. "Well, I bet the vendors outside will faint from joy soon. There's no other way. Learning alchemy is too expensive. But you can also make money after you finish your studies," Hagrid said as he bent down and picked up the box. Even with his physique and strength, his face turned red when he picked up the box. Remy quickly opened a drawer in the box and then helped Hagrid pour the gold coins into it. Harry watched curiously as the gold coins continued to flow into the small drawer, but he could never fill the drawer up. His curiosity could no longer be controlled. "Is this box also enchanted? Why is it never full?" Harry asked curiously. "The Traceless Extension Charm, this is a magic that can increase the storage space of items. My teacher helped me with it," Remy replied. "Your teacher is so nice to you," Harry said enviously. "It's okay. In some aspects, he is really good. But he didn't teach me magic. He insisted that I go to the magic school after I entered the entrance grade." Remy grumbled as he threw the last handful of gold coins into the drawer before closing it and covering the chest. "It's done." Hagrid let out a long sigh, and the first thing he did after putting down the box was to touch the pocket where the rice dumplings were. After making sure it was still there and intact, Hagrid called the two to get in the car. The way back was much slower than the way there because it was all uphill. This made Hagrid look much better, and he even had the leisure to tell the two where to buy school supplies and their approximate locations. The minecart rushed all the way, and when it arrived at the initial boarding point, Hagrid breathed a sigh of relief, his face full of relief. Walking out of Gringotts and basking in the sunshine, the three of them felt refreshed. The underground vault is definitely not a place for people to stay. If Gringotts also had a service scoring mechanism, Remy felt that he would give this experience a negative score without hesitation. Chapter 8. After leaving Gringotts and walking on the streets of Diagon Alley, Remy and Harry did not go shopping immediately, but took a walk first. As for Hagrid, he was probably still suffering from the after effects of his previous ride, so he left first, saying that he wanted to go to the Leaky Cauldron to have a few drinks with some shrews to relieve his fatigue. But Remy thought he was lying. He probably just wanted the two of them to experience shopping in Diagon Alley by themselves. "What should we buy first? How about I go with you to buy the magic materials you want? To be honest, I'm quite interested in them," Harry said. "Sure, let's go then." As he spoke, Remy walked into a nearby store, which made Harry stunned. "Remy, this is... Welcome, my friends. Would you like to buy a cauldron? We have. Give me 10 of each type of crucible, please." The store manager's eyes suddenly lit up, and the corners of his mouth almost stretched to his ears. "No problem. Please sit down and rest for a while, I'll go get the goods." While inviting Remy and Harry to take a seat, the manager enthusiastically poured them 2 cups of tea and went into the warehouse. After a while, a series of tinkling sounds were heard from inside. Remy, is this how you buy things before? We don't know the price yet, what if? It seems that you don't have an accurate understanding of the financial resources that I and you have. With the money that we have, we can at least empty out their warehouses without any problem, let alone buy out the entire Diagon Alley," Remy said calmly while drinking tea. But there is one thing he didn't say, that is, even if he didn't have enough money, he could call for support. For Nicholas Flamel, who possessed the Philosopher's Stone and could turn everything into gold, money was useless except for taking up space. Remy had already reached an agreement with Nicholas Flamel that Nicholas Flamel would provide him with unlimited financial support until he came of age. However, when Remy comes of age, not only will Nicholas Flamel no longer provide a penny, but Remy will also have to repay the money he used previously in installments within 100 years. I've never bought anything like this before. I barely even had pocket money before. I lived with my aunt and her family treated me very badly, Harry said. Look at the bright side, at least you still have a home. I don't even know where my home is now, said Remy. Harry was stunned for a moment. What will you do on holidays? Oh, by the way, does Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry have holidays? Or do we have to live in the school all the time? There are holidays. Remy nodded. If I have holidays, I might go to my teacher's house, or stay overnight at school. It doesn't matter where I stay. Anyway, even if I go home, my parents will definitely take me around the world, and I will still have to stay in a hotel, so it's better to stay overnight at school. Really? I would like to stay if I can. I don't want to go back to my aunt's house. That's great, we can form a group then. While chatting and drinking tea, the store manager soon brought over the things Remy needed on a cart. There were several carts and at least 100 different crucibles. He opened the suitcase and asked the store manager to help him put the things in. The store manager couldn't help but look at Remy twice. It's rare to see new students having this kind of equipment, the store manager praised. It will become very common in the future. Remy said with a smile as he took out the money to pay for the goods. After the store manager put all the crucibles into the box, Harry quickly took out the equipment list to buy crucibles as well, but he didn't buy a lot, and asked about the price in detail before buying. Harry, leave your things here with me, it's more convenient, we have a lot of things to buy later. Remy said. Oh, okay, thank you for your help. It's just a small matter. After leaving the crucible, Remy took Harry and headed straight to the potion shop across the street. I thought Remy would make indiscriminate large purchases again this time, but he didn't. He didn't buy a single bottle of potion, but instead bought several boxes of test tubes, empty bottles, and raw materials needed to make potions. But after arriving at the bookstore, Remy returned to his true nature and packed up all the magic books in the bookstore. The price of magic books was very expensive, and almost every book was priced in galleons, which made Harry feel a little painful when buying textbooks. Although he didn't know how many pounds one gold galleon was equal to, he had bought ice cream before and knew very well that galleons' purchasing power was very strong. This set, and those sets over there. No, don't give them to me. I don't want these sets. Pack up the others for me. In the clothing store, Harry was once again surprised by Remy's shopping method. He had never thought that there was such a way to buy clothes. He wanted to imitate it, but in the end, Harry couldn't get over the hurdle in his heart, and finally only bought the school uniform and work clothes mentioned in the equipment list. This store doesn't seem to have any dragonhide gloves, have you seen any? Harry asked as he looked at the equipment list. The dragon leather gloves should be in a magic equipment store or a potion store. We'll go check it out later. Now, we should go buy a wand. Remy said. I had just picked up my suitcase and was about to go out when a handsome young man with platinum hair walked towards me. Who else could it be but Draco? Oh, platinum hair, you should be a descendant of the platinum family, right? Remy asked. You, who are you? Draco asked with a slightly stiff expression as he looked at Remy and Harry, as if his rhythm was disrupted by Remy's first words. Well, we'll know each other after school, right? We still have to go buy wands, so I'll leave first. Bye. With that, Remy waved to Harry and walked out of the clothing store. Harry glanced at Draco curiously, then caught up with Remy. Remy, what is the Platinum family? Harry asked curiously. The Platinum family is the Malfoy family, one of the 28 pureblood families in the wizarding world, and one of the oldest pureblood families. Hearing the voice, Remy and Harry stopped and turned at the same time, only to see that Draco had followed them out for some reason. My name is Draco, Draco Malfoy. Draco said as he held out his hand to Remy. Remy was a little surprised, but still shook hands with Draco. Remy Barrett. Barrett? Draco frowned, with a trace of confusion in his eyes. If I remember correctly, there seems to be no Barrett family in the magic world. To be precise, there is no such family in the magic world of Ying country. My family is quite famous in Mei country. Remy said with a smile, playing a little word game by the way. He only said that the Barrett family was famous in Magnesium country, but he didn't say that they were famous in the Magnesium magic world. Chapter 9. In Western culture, there is a contempt chain for hair color. At the bottom of the contempt chain is red hair. People with red hair are considered stupid, backward, poor, and uncivilized, because most people with red hair are Northern Irish and Celtic. For example, Ronald in the Iron Triangle has red hair, is not very smart, and comes from a poor family. Slightly better than red hair are flaxen and brown hair, who are considered mixed-race civilians. Hermione, the Muggle-born member of the Iron Triangle, has this hair color. Above tan are blondes like Draco. Most people with blonde hair and blue eyes are Germans. Interestingly, there is a certain mustache guy who advocates that blonde hair and blue eyes are the most noble, but he himself has black hair. Black hair is the hair color of the Romans, and it is undoubtedly the hair color at the top of the contempt chain. In many Western cultural works, the male and female protagonists often have black hair. At this moment, Draco caught up with them and took the initiative to talk to them to clarify their doubts. His attitude was pretty good. Although he was a little proud when talking about his family, there was no contempt in his eyes when he looked at the two of them. Remy felt that it was probably because he and Harry both had noble black hair. I've only heard of the existence of Magnesium, but I don't know anything else. Does Magnesium also have a wizarding world? Draco asked curiously. Of course, Magnesium not only has a wizarding world, it also has its own magic school called Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, which was founded in the 17th century and is located on the top of Mount Greylock in Massachusetts, Magnesium. By the way, the aunt of the founder of Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry is a direct descendant of Salazar Slytherin, so to some extent Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry can be said to be of the same lineage. Remy said. Hearing Remy's words, Draco's eyes suddenly lit up, and it was unclear whether he was impressed by Remy's profound knowledge or because Remy mentioned Salazar Slytherin. So that's how it is. I didn't expect this kind of thing to happen. Draco sighed, and suddenly looked at Harry with embarrassment on his face. At the same time, he stretched out his hand to Harry. Are you his brother? I don't know what your name is. My name is Draco. I'm not his brother, my name is Harry, Harry Potter. Harry said. Harry Potter. Draco's voice suddenly rose 3 octaves. Are you really Harry Potter? Oh, I mean, are you really the legendary? Harry nodded, and at the same time lifted up his hair to show Draco the lightning mark on his forehead. There were many people in the bar who didn't believe it before and expressed their desire to see the legendary mark. Although Harry didn't know what was so good about this mark that he had had since childhood, at least he knew that this mark could be used to prove his identity. Oh, it's so nice to meet you, Harry. Draco excitedly shook Harry's hand again. I hope we can be assigned to the same house. Needless to say, someone like you will definitely be assigned to Slytherin, and Remy, I really hope we can be assigned to the same dormitory. Maybe. Let's talk about it when we get to Hogwarts. We still have a lot of things to buy. If we don't hurry up, we might miss the train to Hogwarts in the afternoon. Remy said. Oh yeah, sorry I was careless. Draco quickly let go of Harry's hand. Then I won't bother you anymore, see you on the train. Okay, bye-bye. As soon as he finished imitating Remy's words, Harry suddenly felt that something was wrong with this sentence, because Remy said it in Huxia. Remy, what does this sentence mean? Does it mean goodbye from the Magnesium side? Harry asked curiously. You can understand it that way, although it is actually a variant word that was transliterated after the Ying language was introduced to an Eastern country, but it does mean goodbye. Oh, you are amazing. You know so much. It's okay. After all, I used to drink 6 nuclear bombs to nourish my brain since I was a child. 6 nuclear bombs? What kind of drink is this? Why does the name sound weird? Following Remy in confusion, just as they were walking towards the wand shop, someone suddenly called them from behind. It turned out to be Hagrid. Oh, thank God I finally found you. Have you bought everything? Hagrid asked. The only things left to buy are the wand, dragonskin gloves, and the owl. We are just about to go buy the wand. Remy said after thinking for a moment. Oh, that's great, well, I mean you guys go buy wands. I won't go with you. I'm going to buy something over there. Hagrid said. OJBK, bye. Harry imitated him and waved his hand. OJBK, bye. Hagrid. What are you talking about? I don't quite understand. Could it be French? Thinking of Remy's identity, Hagrid immediately felt relieved and went about his business. On the other side, Remy and Harry came to the door of the wand shop and looked up at the slightly mottled golden billboard above. Ollivanders, making fine wands since 382 BC, specializing in wand making for 2000 years. Come on, let's meet this staff-making master. Oh well. When I pushed open the shop door, a small bell suddenly started ringing, alerting the store owner that someone had come in. However, after the two looked around in the store for a while, the manager did not come out. Just as Remy could no longer control himself and went to take the small boxes that were stacked up like a wall, a voice suddenly sounded from behind them. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Scare. Remy was so frightened that he shuddered and turned around helplessly. Mr. Ollivander, could you please make some noise when you walk? Can't you see that I'm concentrating on stealing? Harry. Ollivander. Is it my fault? Should I let you steal the things and come out? Or should I come over here to remind you that someone is coming? Ollivander was stunned by Remy for a moment. Hello, Mr. Ollivander, Remy didn't mean that, he just... Harry was interrupted by Remy before he could finish his explanation. Stop talking nonsense and get down to business, Mr. Ollivander. Take out the most powerful wands you have. I want them all. Remy said with an air of wealth and generosity. Bang! Harry slapped his forehead helplessly and thought to himself, I knew it would be like this. Oh, my dear child, everyone only needs one wand. No one can cast a spell by holding a bunch of wands, otherwise they won't be able to cast any magic at all. Ollivander explained patiently. Only. Really? I don't believe it. Chapter 10. Indeed, even the greatest wizard of all, Albus Dumbledore, only used one wand. Ollivander said helplessly. Oh, that's okay, I'll buy a few more to use in rotation. No, 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 the wand cannot be replaced easily, because it is the wand that chooses its master. If you replace the wand easily, the wand will think you have abandoned it. Oh? You mean the wand has its own consciousness? Yes, it does have its own consciousness to a certain extent. Really? I don't believe it. Ollivander. How come I didn't find this so annoying before? Remy. Harry tugged at Remy's clothes. You should listen to Mr. Ollivander. He is a professional wand maker. He knows more about wands than we do. A master of staff making? Ollivander's mouth twitched suddenly. For some reason, he always felt that this name was an insult. Mr. Ollivander, has the Ministry of Magic issued any law stipulating that each person can only buy one wand? Remy asked. That's not the case. That's it, then? Take out the most powerful wands you have. It's not like I won't pay you. Ollivander sighed helplessly and rubbed his forehead with a headache. He didn't understand why the excuses that had always worked in the past were of no use to this child. As a master wand maker, and a hereditary wand maker who has been making wands for generations, Ollivander undoubtedly cherishes the wands he makes, and each wand is like his child. Because of this, Ollivander also hopes that the little owners of the wands can cherish their wands as much as he does. For this reason, he would warn every young wizard who came to buy a wand that the wand had its own consciousness and it was the wand that chose the wizard, not the wizard who chose the wand. However, today he found that his words seemed unable to convince the child in front of him, but he was ready to try again. Your name is Remy, right? Ollivander asked. Yes. Remy nodded. My name is Remy, Remy Barrett. Okay, Mr. Barrett, I think I need to explain to you how I make wands so that you can understand them better, said Ollivander. Remy nodded, and Harry looked at Ollivander curiously, his eyes full of anticipation for hearing a story. The wand can be divided into two parts. One is the body, which is made of wood that contains magical powers. Usually ebony, oak, holly, etc. are used. These woods not only contain magic power, but also have their own unique properties. Combining them with suitable core materials can increase the power of the core and give the wand unique properties. Ollivander said, with a hint of obsession in his eyes, as if he had entered his own spiritual world. So, what about elderberries? Remy's question brought Ollivander back to reality and he frowned. Oh, it seems you have heard of the legend, but to be honest, I don't think Elder is a good wand material, so I always think that the legend is wrong. I have also experimented with Elder, but the results were not ideal. Neither the phoenix tail feathers, dragon heart nerves, nor the unicorn tail hair can work well with it. Ollivander said. He scratched his hair and looked a little depressed. Perhaps just as he said, he didn't quite understand why the legendary wand would use elderberry, a wood that he didn't think was excellent. Maybe you can try the wand core material with the attributes of doom and death. After all, that magic wand will always bring doom and death to its owner. Remy said after an idea came to his mind. I tried it. Ollivander shook his head. It was even worse. Remy. MMP. You didn't even give me a chance to fill my cup with tea. Well, actually I have a general understanding of magic wands, but my situation is quite special and I do need more than one wand. Remy said helplessly. Oh? Really? I don't believe it, said Ollivander. Remy. Ahem. Remy cleared his throat to cover up his gaffe and continued, I'm learning alchemy, but when I'm doing alchemy, there are often inexplicable explosions. Every time there is an explosion, I can only protect myself and have no time to take care of other things. Therefore, the life of the magic wand in my hand cannot be long. Ollivander thought for a moment and nodded, then looked at Remy sincerely, Kid, that means you don't have the talent to learn alchemy. I suggest you give up alchemy and learn something else. For example, potions is a good subject. After all these years, you are the first person to say that I have no talent for alchemy. Remy smiled and said, You may have heard of my teacher. He lives in France. France? Alchemist? Could it be that? Ollivander's eyes widened and he looked at Remy in disbelief. Remy nodded, indicating that he was not wrong. Oh, this is incredible. I didn't expect you to be his student. In that case, please wait a moment. Let me give this person. Ollivander suddenly stared at Harry with eyes wide open in disbelief. Oh, you must be Harry Potter? Your eyes are exactly like your mother's. She got her first wand from me. It seems like it happened just yesterday. It's 10¼ inches long and made of willow wood. It's a very good wand that is perfect for performing magic. Ollivander exclaimed. Your father's was different. He liked mahogany wands. I mean, in the end a mahogany wand was chosen by your father. 11 inches long, very flexible and very suitable for transfiguration. Remy. Harry. You just said something wrong, didn't you? You must have said something wrong. In fact, it is not the wand that chooses the wizard at all. Seeing that Remy and Harry were looking at him with empty eyes, Ollivander realized that he had accidentally said something out of excitement, so he quickly took out the measuring tape and measured Harry's arm length while changing the subject. Which hand do you prefer? Right hand. I usually use my right hand. Okay, raise your arms. Okay, turn around again. Ollivander used a measuring tape to measure Harry's arm length, waist measurements, head circumference, shoulder width, distance between his eyes, and even the distance between Harry's nostrils. All that was left was to measure little Harry's height as well. After finally finishing the measurements, Ollivander nodded with satisfaction, and then began to recommend wands to Harry. Mr. Potter, try this wand first. It is 9 inches long and made of beechwood and the heart nerve of a dragon. Ollivander said. Don't just stand there, try swinging it. Harry came back to his senses and waved his wand a little nervously. The next moment. Bang! Chapter 11. Oh, it seems that this is not it. Looking at the shattered vase, Ollivander shook his head. He snatched the wand from Harry's hand and handed Harry a new wand. Try this one, the maple one. Harry was very picky. He tried more than 10 wands but none of them satisfied Ollivander. Remy, who was bored, discovered another secret, a secret about Ollivander. Mr. Ollivander, I have a question I would like to ask you. Remy said. You say, Mr. Barrett, said Ollivander. What are those statistics you just measured about Harry for? Remy asked. Oh, that's to calculate the most suitable wand length for Mr. Potter to wield, so as to narrow the range. Ollivander explained. Yet. Remy shook his head and walked to the table, which was already piled with wand boxes and wands. Harry just tested a total of 16 wands. The shortest wand was only 7 inches long, while the longest was 12.5 inches. Isn't the range a bit too large? Or was it that Harry was constantly growing taller and shrinking, growing taller, and shrinking again during the experiment just now? Remy asked jokingly. Ollivander opened his mouth, but no words came out. At this time, Remy continued, Mr. Ollivander, I have no objection to you, but Harry and I have to take the Muggle subway to the train station. We don't have that much time to waste. Please show your true ability and choose the most suitable wand for Harry as soon as possible. As he spoke, Remy picked up a magic wand and waved it around. The next moment, a blinding light and a bang instantly made Remy's eyes go white. Ah! My 4K pure titanium alloy dog eyes! Harry, who was also trapped in the white world, was panicking at first, but after hearing Remy's cry, he couldn't help laughing out loud for some reason. After about 20 seconds, the three regained their vision one after another, and then they were all stunned. There was only half of the wand left in Remy's hand, and the broken end was charred black, obviously not broken by bending or falling. Remy blinked, looking a little embarrassed. Well, don't worry, I will pay for it, just consider it as my purchase. Ollivander, who was holding onto the table, frowned and shook his head. It shouldn't be like this, how could it explode? This kind of situation shouldn't happen. As he spoke, Ollivander reached out and snatched the wand from Remy's hand, looking at it again and again, then he lay on the ground looking for the remaining half and the debris in the middle that was blown away by the explosion, muttering to himself all the time. Seeing Ollivander, who seemed to be ill, Remy and Harry did not dare to disturb him. They just stood there obediently without moving. After a long while, Ollivander finally stood up. He looked around the small shop like an eagle with sharp eyes, then walked to the wall and pulled out a box. Mr. Barrett, please try this wand. Ollivander said seriously. Remy nodded, took the wand and waved it gently. The next moment, a strong wind blew violently. At the same time, the wand in Remy's hand exploded again with a bang, and this time only the handle was left. As the wand exploded, the strong wind stopped. Harry looked at Remy with horror, while Remy frowned at the remains of the wand in his hand. Ollivander also frowned as he looked at the remains of the wand. For a moment the store became eerily quiet. Boom! A wand box fell from the top, setting off a chain reaction like dominoes. A whole wall of wand boxes fell to the ground, scaring Harry so much that he quickly moved away. This incident awakened the instigator and the owner of the wand shop. I think I know why Master didn't teach me magic. I think I know what's going on. The two said almost at the same time. At the same time, in France, at Nicholas Flamel's home, Madame Flamel poured 2 cups of tea and left home, leaving space for Nicholas Flamel and Albus Dumbledore, who had just arrived. Nicole, did you ask me to come here because you are worried about the Philosopher's Stone? Don't worry, I have made all the preparations and there will be no problem with the Philosopher's Stone. Dumbledore said. It's just a rock. I'm not worried about that. Nicholas Flamel shook his head, then took the box from the table, placed it between the two of them and opened it. Looking at the grey translucent crystals as big as sugar cubes in the box, Dumbledore's eyes suddenly fixed. Such powerful magic, are these all Philosopher's Stones? Dumbledore asked. In a sense, they are indeed the Philosopher's Stone, but they are not the Sorcerer's Stone. As he spoke, Nicholas Flamel lightly tapped his fingers, and a crystal floated out of the box and floated in front of Dumbledore. This thing is called magic crystal. Even a magic crystal the size of a sugar cube has the same magical power as that of an adult wizard. Nicholas Flamel introduced. Dumbledore nodded, having felt it. So, what does it do? It's about the same as a sugar cube. Nicholas Flamel controlled the magic crystal to fall into the teacup in front of Dumbledore, and the magic crystal melted when it came into contact with water. Magic crystals can be dissolved in water. Drinking melted magic crystal water can replenish a large amount of magic power, and in a sense, it can also add flavor to the drink. Dumbledore nodded. After the magic crystal melted, he found that the ordinary cup of tea in front of him suddenly became extremely tempting, but when he smelled it carefully, he found that it actually did not emit any aroma. The appetizing aroma is actually an illusion caused by the body's desire for magic power. What a great invention! If I had enough magic crystals, maybe I could still defeat Voldemort in a duel now. Dumbledore said half seriously and half jokingly. Nicholas Flamel did not respond, but took out another magic crystal and put it into his teacup, then raised the cup and toasted Dumbledore. After taking a sip, Dumbledore's eyes lit up and he nodded. It tastes unexpectedly good. It feels like a riverbed that is gradually drying up and suddenly receives a rainfall. I feel very satisfied. As he spoke, Dumbledore took another sip, nodding as he savored the drink. How many cups of tea like this can you drink in a row? Asked Nicholas Flamel. Dumbledore thought for a moment. Well, if it was an extreme case, I think I could probably drink 10 glasses in a row. If I say that someone can drink it as ordinary water under any circumstances, including when their body is full of magic power, would you believe it? Asked Nicholas Flamel. Dumbledore was stunned at first, then fell into deep thought. Chapter 12. Drink this tea like water? Under any circumstances? Dumbledore, who had already felt the effect of this tea on replenishing the magic power in his body, couldn't help but frown when he heard this. This is a bit challenging to his cognition. Even if a person has a lot of magic power, he will be able to hold on if he replenishes the magic power when his body is full, right? Does the person you are talking about have any special talents? Dumbledore asked. Nicholas Flamel nodded. You know Obscurus well, don't you? Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, a hint of sadness flashing in his eyes. Yes, of course I understand. Have you discovered any new Obscurials? Dumbledore asked. Nicholas Flamel shook his head. I ask you, how did the Obscurus come about? Wizard children are forced to suppress the magic in their bodies due to physical or psychological abuse. They will experience extreme emotional pain and create a dark parasitic magical force called Obscurus. What exactly do you want to say? Dumbledore asked puzzledly. He didn't understand why Nicholas Flamel asked him this question. There was no reason why Nicholas Flamel didn't know the reason for the formation of the Obscurus. This made his emotions a little bit out of control. Yes, that's how Obscurus was created. But have you ever thought about what would happen to a child's body if he never suppressed the magic in his body, squandered it all every day, and lived a very, well, heartlessly happy life every day? Asked Nicholas Flamel. Dumbledore frowned immediately. He had a hard time understanding Nicholas Flamel's hypothesis, because Nicol, how could the situation you described happen? Even for an adult wizard who has mastered spells, it is almost impossible to squander all the magic power in his body every day, let alone a child who has not mastered spells. Dumbledore asked. The wizarding world they belong to does not advocate strength above all else, so who would practice spells all day long until exhaustion? Boom boom boom. Nicholas Flamel tapped the box containing the magic crystal on the table with his old fingers. My disciple, Remy Barrett, is a natural master of alchemy. These magic crystals were invented by him. Before he met me, he used his innate alchemy to consume his own magic power to condense these magic crystals. Nicholas Flamel said. Dumbledore was stunned for a moment, then he understood something. Okay, I have a rough idea. So, my old friend, tell me about him. Dumbledore looked at Nicholas Flamel and said seriously. I'd better tell you about the new magical creature in his body first. Nicholas Flamel smiled and said. When I met him, he already had that thing in his body, and he named it Chenbeo. Kidney, treasure? Looking at Dumbledore with a forehead full of question marks, Nicholas Flamel showed a helpless smile. Yes, you heard it right, although I couldn't understand why a little kid like him would give it such a name. But later on, at my suggestion, he changed the name of the creature, and now it's called Mabeo. Dumbledore nodded and motioned for Nicholas Flamel to continue. The existence of the magic treasure has brought Remy terrifying magic power and magic power recovery speed. The magic power he possesses now. Nicholas Flamel looked at Dumbledore. Well, it is about 5 times that of yours, and it continues to increase every day. 5 times as much as me. Hissed Dumbledore quickly drank some tea to calm himself. Initially, the magic treasure only provided Remy with a huge amount of magic power and magic power recovery speed, just like a dead object. Nicholas Flamel continued. But as Remy and it grow together, the magic treasure now has instincts similar to those of living creatures. Whenever Remy is in danger, it will actively release a large amount of magic power to protect Remy. Therefore, I have always been worried that it will develop a true consciousness one day and escape from Remy's control. Dumbledore nodded seriously. If a magical creature with such enormous magical power were to get out of control, the magic world would be in trouble, and it wouldn't just be the magic world that would suffer. How do you test it? Does the magic react to all magic, or just dark magic? Dumbledore asked. All. Nicholas Flamel said. Not just magic, any attack that can cause irreparable damage to Remy will trigger the magic treasure, including Remy's usual alchemy failure and explosion. Even if Remy falls from a high place, as long as it exceeds a certain height, it can trigger the magic treasure's protection. Will the magic treasure also protect you if it falls from a high place? Dumbledore's eyes widened immediately. Doesn't that mean he is invincible? You can understand it that way. At this point, Nicholas Flamel suddenly laughed. If you ever come into a fight with Voldemort and Remy happens to be nearby, you can use him as a shield, he can even block the killing curse. How could I possibly treat a child as, wait, a killing curse? You used a killing curse on him? Dumbledore asked in disbelief, taking a breath. He is your apprentice. And he is just a child. How could you have the heart to do that to him? Because I'm really curious. Nicholas Flamel nodded and said with a smile, besides, I haven't studied the killing curse specifically. The power of the killing curse I used is definitely not enough to kill him. Okay, but how does it block the killing curse? Dumbledore asked curiously. The way the magic treasure protects Remy is to release a large amount of magic power to form a magic shield on the surface of Remy's body. The magic shield is composed entirely of magic power and can be regarded as a physical entity, so it can block any magic. Nicholas Flamel explained. I see. This means that the target was not hit at all because Remy was protected. Dumbledore nodded, a hint of regret in his eyes. He couldn't learn this method of defending against the killing curse. It's so luxurious. I understand. I will train him well. Don't worry, my friend, said Dumbledore. At this moment, a picture suddenly occurred to Dumbledore. In the picture, Remy strolled through the colorful spells like a stroll in the garden. In the stunned, shocked, and even collapsed gazes of Voldemort and a group of Death Eaters, he walked up to Voldemort leisurely and cast a magic to defeat him. However, Nicholas Flamel's words soon brought Dumbledore back to reality and shattered all his fantasies. I really want you to take special care of him this time, but I hope you don't teach him magic. Don't teach him any magic. Dumbledore. Chapter 13. Don't teach him any magic? Are you sure he is your apprentice and not the child of your enemy? Why? Are you worried that he will turn bad in the future? Dumbledore asked. Nicholas Flamel immediately shook his head. No, Remy is a very good child. Although he likes to play, he is not extreme and loves peace. Then why don't you want me to teach him magic? Because his magic power is so huge that it is far beyond his control. Nicholas Flamel sighed heavily, then took out a card and handed it to Dumbledore. This is a magic card I made with his inspiration. You only need to inject magic power to activate the magic inside. It is exactly the same as the magic power you need to consume to cast magic yourself, and it also saves the trouble of chanting spells. Dumbledore took it, looked at it, and then injected magic into it. The magic card suddenly lit up with a ball of white light. It turned out to be a fluorescent magic card. It's a great invention, but does it have anything to do with what you just said about his powerful magic? Dumbledore asked doubtfully. This is a teaching prop I made for him, but it exploded when he used it. Nicholas Flamel said as he reached out and tapped the magic card. In order not to undermine his confidence, I improved the magic card without his knowledge. Try it again now. Dumbledore nodded, injected magic into the magic card again, and then frowned. Why no response? Dumbledore asked. The improved magic card needs to be injected with 10 times the magic power before it can be activated when used by a specific person. But even so, Remy still needs to be very careful when using it, as the slightest carelessness may cause an explosion. Nicholas Flamel said helplessly. Dumbledore nodded and continued to inject magic into the magic card. After activating the magic card again, Dumbledore silently put down the magic card, then picked up the tea and drank it. The consumption is a bit high, he needs to replenish some mana. I made improvements secretly because I didn't want to destroy his self-confidence, so Remy always thought that his control over magic had improved, but in fact, the speed of his control over magic was far behind the speed of his own magic growth. He was like running on a conveyor belt moving in the opposite direction, always marking time, and even regressing if he relaxed a little. Nicholas Flamel said with a sigh. Everything has its limits. Who could have thought that such outstanding talent, with such strong capital, would end up like this? I see. I will pay more attention to him after he starts school. I guess you came to me and told me all this because you don't want me to directly forbid him from learning magic, right? Dumbledore asked. Yes. Nicholas Flamel nodded. I don't want him to be isolated because of this kind of thing, so I'll have to trouble you to take care of him in the future. Learn. Dumbledore nodded, then glanced at the clock on the wall. Is there anything else I need to know? It's getting late and I have to go back to prepare for the welcome dinner for freshmen. Dumbledore said. Nothing else. Oh, by the way, he has an unusual hobby and dream. I'm afraid you may need to spend more time to guide him. Oh? What's your hobby? Remy's parents' family is in the arms business, so Remy has loved guns since he was a child. He once told me that his dream is to make magic guns that even ordinary people can use to fire magic by pulling the trigger, and sell them in large quantities. Dumbledore. You call this a little hobby? If this kind of magic firearm is produced and sold in large quantities, not only the magic world, but the entire world will be in chaos. At this moment, Dumbledore suddenly felt that preventing Voldemort from resurrecting was not important at all compared to preventing the advent of magical firearms. What do you want me to do? Just guide him instead of stopping him? Dumbledore asked in a deep voice. Nicholas Flamel blinked, then took a sip from his teacup and shook his head. He doesn't need a wand or a spell to perform his innate alchemy, and he doesn't even need magical materials. And because of the existence of the magic treasure, you can't trap him with magic, so, you can't stop him. Dumbledore. Why is there such a supernatural power in the world? If I insist on using up my magic power every day, will it be too late? You've really given me a difficult problem. Dumbledore sighed. It is indeed a difficult problem, but if he can be given the right guidance, with his abilities he will definitely bring about major changes to the wizarding world, said Nicholas Flamel. Change. A trace of reminiscence and pain flashed in Dumbledore's eyes. I don't like change, said Dumbledore. Nicholas Flamel looked at Dumbledore and smiled, but said nothing. He certainly knew why Dumbledore didn't like change, but he also knew that Dumbledore actually always liked change. On the other side, in Diagon Alley, Ollivander took the wand from Remy and placed it gently on the table. Mr. Barrett, the magic power you possess is beyond my imagination. If you don't mind. Remy's heart tightened when he heard Ollivander's words. Mr. Ollivander, I can actually control. Can you give me some of your hair? I can pay for it, and I promise that it will only be used for research and will never be leaked. I can make an unbreakable oath with you. Hey? Want my hair for research? You scared me, I thought you were going to say you couldn't sell me the wand. Looking at Ollivander's burning gaze, Remy breathed a sigh of relief and nodded. Of course the hair is no problem, but you can see my situation. I need a lot of wands to practice control. No problem. Ollivander nodded immediately without thinking. Mr. Barrett, if you need as many wands as you want in the future, just tell me. I can, well, maybe we can trade. You give me a hair and I'll give you a wand. How about that? A hair for a wand? If I remember correctly, a magic wand weighs 7 galleons, and a person's hair weighs about 100,000. If I choose to go bald, I will get 700,000 galleons. Remy did a quick calculation in his mind and was immediately shocked by the amount. This is too little. How could his handsomeness only be worth 700,000 galleons? No, one hair for 10 wands. I have much more magic power than those magical creatures, said Remy. That being said, you have much more hair than a phoenix's tail feathers, so the magic power of each hair may not exceed that of a phoenix's tail feathers. I can only offer a 1-to-2 ratio at best. Remy and Ollivander had a heated argument over the exchange ratio, leaving Harry confused as he listened. Chapter 14. Remy knew he had a lot of magic power, but he didn't know exactly how much, or how it compared to other people. Before buying the wand, Remy always thought that his current magic power might be second only to Dumbledore and Voldemort, but in the future he could surpass them and become the first. Now that he has exploded 2 wands in a row, and even the knowledgeable Ollivander has said that the magic power he possesses is beyond imagination, Remy has a new understanding of his own magical level. This made him very happy, and he simply accepted Ollivander's offer of 1 hair in exchange for 2 wands. Only. Hey, what are you doing? Are you going to pull my hair out? Seeing Ollivander reaching out his hand, Remy quickly stepped back. Are you kidding? Just because he agreed to sell his hair doesn't mean he agrees to have others pull out his hair. There is an essential difference between plucking and cutting. Cutting hair will not make you bald, but plucking too much hair may really make you bald. And it won't get stronger. To use hair to make a wand, you naturally need complete hair. Ollivander said as a matter of course. You've used human hair to make wands before. Not really human, I once used the hair of a half-Vila to customize her wand. Oh, then you can also customize the wand for me, and I will pay for the rest. Ollivander's eyes showed deep regret, but he still agreed to Remy's request. After discussion, Remy evenly plucked 5 strands of hair from his head and handed them to Ollivander, then stepped aside and waited for Harry to finish selecting his wand so that they could make their big purchase. After receiving Remy's hair, Ollivander carefully put it away, then took out a wand from the shelf and handed it to Harry solemnly. Come on, boy, try this one, said Ollivander. Harry nodded and took the wand, and the next moment, before he could wave it, BGM, fans, lights and other special effects suddenly appeared on him. Needless to say, this must be Harry's dream wand. Sure enough, everything is destined. Ollivander looked at Harry with a complicated expression. I once sold a magic wand that used the tail feathers of the same phoenix as this wand. It can be said that it is a brother of this wand. It was this phoenix that left this lightning mark on your forehead. Really? What a coincidence. Harry nodded. What kind of wood is this wand made of? Holly, with phoenix tail feathers, 11 inches long, an extraordinary combination. Ollivander explained. Harry nodded, not knowing whether he understood or not, and paid the money. Seeing that Harry had chosen his wand, Remy immediately waved his hand and asked Ollivander to recommend 10 phoenix tail feather wands, 10 dragon heartstring wands, and 10 unicorn tail hair wands. And he made an agreement with Ollivander that if he ran out of them, he would buy more from him using an owl. Just as I had finished selecting all the wands, selecting only based on appearance, and was about to pay, a knocking sound came from the window. Remy and Harry turned around and saw that it was Hagrid who came. He was holding a cage in his hand, and in the cage was a snow-white owl. To be precise, it is a snowy owl, Xiao. Harry, happy birthday, this is the birthday present I prepared for you. Hagrid said after opening the door and squeezing into the wand shop with difficulty. Oh, really? That's amazing. Can I touch it? Of course. It's yours now. Remy blinked as he watched Harry ecstatically take the cage and poke the snowy owl inside. Is today Harry's birthday? Remy asked curiously. No, Harry's birthday was yesterday. However, when I picked him up yesterday, I forgot to bring him a gift, so I only prepared a birthday cake for him. Hagrid said embarrassedly. Oh, that's good. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to think of what birthday present to give him in such a short time because I have difficulty making choices. Remy said. Ha 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 ha, I spent a long time choosing before deciding on this gift for Harry. It's very practical and cute, right? Yeah, I think I need to buy an owl too. It's pretty practical. He walked over to Harry and teased the snowy owl, which Harry had named Hedwig, for a while. After paying Ollivander for the wand, Remy followed Hagrid out to buy his own owl. Remy doesn't have any requirements for the owl's appearance, only its body shape. With the dual recommendation of Hagrid and the store manager, Remy finally did not listen to their advice. Hagrid and the owl shop manager both recommended the eagle owl to Remy. The eagle owl is the largest owl on average, and the snowy owl is also a type of eagle owl. But Remy ultimately chose a fishing owl native to Asia. There is a huge range of sizes between different species of fishing owls. The one Remy bought is the hairy-legged fishing owl, which can grow to be larger than the largest eagle owl. Moreover, its main food is fish, and there happens to be a large lake next to Hogwarts Castle, so perhaps a lot of feeding troubles can be saved. With the owl in place, the three went to buy the mist essentials, including dragon skin gloves, and then the three left Diagon Alley together. As soon as they left Diagon Alley, Hagrid said with difficulty that he had other things to do and had to leave first, so he couldn't take them to the train station. Remy immediately said that there was no problem. Hagrid gave them 2 tickets before leaving. Looking at the platform 9 3/4 written on it, Harry was confused. Remy, do you think it's possible that these 2 tickets were printed incorrectly? I've never heard of a 3/4 platform. Harry said. Have you ever heard of magic before? Remy asked. Don't forget, we are going to a magic school, not some ordinary school. Harry suddenly realized what was going on and quickly followed Remy with the owl cage in hand. Each of them was carrying an owl cage, and they attracted a lot of attention along the way. Remy didn't care at all about this, but Harry couldn't stand those curious and surprised looks. Remy, can your trunk hold owls? I mean, won't they suffocate to death in it? Harry asked. Of course not. What's wrong? Are you tired? Remy asked. No, sort of. Okay, I'll help you put it on. Harry hesitated as Remy only packed Hedwig into the suitcase. Remy, I think you'd better pack your owl in your suitcase too, otherwise the subway might not let us on. Does the subway here have such a rule? Okay. Remy packed the hairy-legged fishing owl, which had been named Long John's, into the suitcase, and took Harry to the subway station to their destination, King's Cross Station. Chapter 15. After wandering around but unable to reach the right platform, Remy and Harry ran around King's Cross Station like two headless flies, running east and west. Remy knew that platform 9 3/4 was a pillar, but the problem was that he didn't know which passage to take to get to the platform where the Hogwarts train stopped. King's Cross Station is a large train station, and they need to find the correct large platform first before they can look for the so-called platform 9 3/4. The way the passages here are set up it's hard to describe, just a mess. When he was almost getting lost after searching for a long time, Remy's eyes suddenly lit up when he caught a glimpse of the place. He saw a fat woman with red hair and made eye contact with her. The fat woman looked at Remy and then immediately looked away. She then called on the 4 children around her to follow her and get on the bus. Oh, it's almost time, we should go get on the bus. George, take our things and don't leave anything behind. Ronald, check your stuff. These buildings built by Muggles are so complicated. Every time I come here, I get dizzy. You should follow closely and don't run around. If you get lost, you won't be able to go to Hogwarts. Her voice was quite loud, as if she was shouting on purpose. Remy heard what she said, and so did Harry. Remy, they might be the same people as us. That lady mentioned Hogwarts, let's follow her. Harry said excitedly. Oh, okay. Remy came back to his senses and followed Harry's footsteps to catch up with the people in front, but he was wondering in his heart whether the Weasley family in front was arranged by Dumbledore. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense that I would just happen to meet them when they needed help. More importantly, as a pure-blood family in the wizarding world, the Weasleys had no need to come to King's Cross Station to take the train. They could go directly to the real station through other passages. They don't live in the Muggle world, so why would they go all the way to London and take the train through the Muggle train station? I smell a conspiracy. Remy had a meaningful smile on his face as he watched Harry approach Mrs. Weasley. Ma'am, are you going to Hogwarts? Harry asked. Oh, yes, I have to take my child to school. Are you going to Hogwarts as well? Are you lost? Harry smiled sheepishly. Yeah, Remy and I couldn't find platform 9 3/4. That's terrible. Hurry up and catch up. The train is about to leave. We have to hurry. Thank you so much. May I know your name? My name is Harry and his is Remy. You can just call me Mrs. Weasley. This is Ronald, he is also entering school this year. These two are George and Fred, they are twins, a few years older than you can ask them for help if you have any difficulties in school. This is my youngest daughter Ginny, she will not enter Hogwarts until next year. As they walked, Mrs. Weasley introduced her children to the two of them, and Harry and Remy politely nodded to each of them. From the way she walked, we could tell that Mrs. Weasley was a decisive and careful person. She walked very fast and from time to time she would urge George and Fred not to run around. Led by Mrs. Weasley, the group successfully arrived in front of a pillar that was nearly 2 meters wide. This is platform 9 3/4. Just walk through and you will see the train to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Mrs. Weasley said. Harry nodded vigorously, looking a little excited. He had sensed a familiar feeling, this feeling was that of a Muggle repelling charm. Subconsciously, Harry turned around and looked at Remy, his eyes seemed to be asking Remy if he felt it. His actions gave Mrs. Weasley the wrong idea. Don't be afraid, you won't get bumped into. George, you can demonstrate it to the younger students first. Mrs. Weasley said. Mum, I'm not George, I'm Fred, he's George. Oh, sorry, Fred, you show them. Okay. Fred pushed the cart to 5 meters in front of the pillar, took a deep breath, and then pushed the cart quickly towards the pillar. Without a sound, he crashed into the pillar. Noticing Harry's surprised look, Mrs. Weasley smiled slightly. "George, it's your turn." "Mom, he just lied to you. I am Fred and he is George." "Mrs. Weasley." The prank was successfully carried out, and George laughed and pushed the card into the pillar. "Next, Lo." "I'll go first, Mrs. Weasley," Remy said suddenly. "Oh well." With Mrs. Weasley's consent, Remy pulled the suitcase to the pillar and walked towards it quickly after taking a deep breath. The moment he touched the pillar, Remy saw a brand new platform. The old steam train was blowing its whistle as if to remind passengers to get on board as soon as possible. The platform was full of people, far more than the platform outside. Most of them were adults, standing by the train saying goodbye to the children who were leaning out of the windows. Cats of various colors walked around people's feet and meowed non-stop, as if begging for food. Some cats with a strong addiction to cats were rubbing against the pants of every passerby crazily, leaving their pants covered with fur. Some of them stared at the owls in the little wizard's hands or on the cart, with their eyes wide open, and it was unclear whether they were greedy or wanted to recognize them as their relatives. Just as Remy was looking around, there was a sudden bang and someone bumped into his back. Ouch! Remy turned around and was immediately delighted to see that it was Harry. "You're running too fast, Harry," Remy said. "No, you're standing in the wrong place. Let's leave quickly." Bang! Bang! There was a loud rustling sound, and Remy and Harry lay on their backs among a pile of luggage, with Ronald's sad face in front of them. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. It's okay. We were standing in the wrong place. We shouldn't have been blocking the entrance." As he spoke, Remy stood up and straightened his suitcase, then helped Ronald put his luggage in place. Harry was fiddling with his glasses, which had sustained some damage from the collision. "I wish there were stores selling glasses in the wizarding world. I feel like my glasses might break down at any moment," Harry said with a headache. "In the wizarding world, this little damage is nothing." As he spoke, Remy pulled out a stack of cards from his inner jacket pocket and handed one to Harry. "Take it and play with it." Chapter 16. What kind of magic card is this? The repair spell can repair some broken things, but not humans. Oh, I see. It can only be used to repair items. Harry looked at the magic card curiously. He really wanted to use this magical thing right now, but considering the mess around him, he held back. The front carriage was already full, and even the aisle was filled with people, so Harry and Remy had no choice but to get off the train and continue along the platform to the carriage behind. They walked to the back of the train and saw that there was no one near the window. They breathed a sigh of relief and carried their luggage into the carriage. There was indeed no one in this carriage, not a single person. "It seems that we are lucky, at least we can get on the train," Remy said. Harry didn't say anything. He sat down eagerly, then took off his glasses and held the magic card to his glasses. "We just have to pump magic into it, right?" Harry asked. "Yes, but this may be a little difficult for you since it's your first day in contact with magic. You may need to try a few more times." As Remy spoke, he put away his suitcase, then sat opposite Harry and watched him fiddle with the magic cards. Just like Remy said, it was difficult for Harry, who was in contact with magic for the first day and didn't know any spells, to actively release his magic. Maybe it was because he was nervous because of Remy's stare or because he was trying too hard, but Harry's face turned red and veins could be vaguely seen on the hand holding the magic card. "Relax, Harry. Releasing magic is not like giving birth to a child. You don't need to use so much force," said Remy. "Harry. Your analogy is both wonderful and confusing. How can I possibly know what giving birth is like?" Nodding, Harry took a deep breath to relax before continuing his attempt. After a while, accompanied by a continuous whistle sound, the old steam locomotive shook violently, and then it started to run with a clanging sound. "Hi, guys!" A little red-haired boy waved awkwardly. He was swaying from side to side with the car body with his luggage. It was Ronald whom I had just met. "The other carriages are full, can I come in?" Ronald continued to ask. Harry glanced at Remy, then picked up his glasses that were on the seat. "Of course, come and sit down, do you need help?" No thanks, I can do it myself." After struggling to pull the heavy suitcase into the compartment, Ronald wiped the sweat off his forehead, hesitated for a moment, and sat next to Harry. Compared to Remy who was daydreaming outside the window and not saying a word, Harry was obviously easier to get along with. The first time they got together, Self-introductions were inevitable. After the three of them introduced themselves, Ronald immediately turned into Harry's little fanboy. In the wizarding world, Harry is a top star. He has fans from everyone from the youngest to the oldest to walk, and he is popular with both men and women. Ronald and Harry had a heated discussion, introducing their pasts and complaining about their troubles. They hit it off right away and seemed to have become good friends. To exaggerate a bit, they are just short of sworn brotherhood. After a while, a standard train attendant came from the rear of the train pushing a small cart full of snacks. Harry immediately and generously said that he would pay for all the consumption today and let the two of them choose whatever snacks they wanted. Ronald took out a sandwich and declined Harry's treat a little stiffly, while Remy waved his hand. "Leave the car here, otherwise we have no place to put our things," said Remy. Ronald suddenly stared at Remy with eyes wide open in disbelief, then quickly looked at Harry, only to find that Harry shook his head helplessly. "I knew you would buy things like this." As he spoke, Harry took out a handful of gold coins from his pocket, which immediately made Ronald's eyes pop out. "I don't know if this money is enough. If it's not, you can ask him for the rest." Harry pointed at Remy and said. The flight attendant smiled slightly, took only 6 gold galleons, and then gave Harry a handful of change. This surprised Harry, and at the same time, he had a more intuitive understanding of the purchasing power of gold galleons. "Remy, Ronald, what do you want to eat?" Harry asked as he pushed the cart to the middle of the seats. "This little cart can be used as a table for them, and it has 3 layers. Give me a cake, I'm hungry," Remy said. Harry nodded, and after looking at Ronald who seemed even more reserved but couldn't help but keep looking at the cart, Harry took out a large piece of cake, cut it in half, and gave 1 piece to each of them. No, thanks. I'll just eat the sandwich," Ronald said in a panic, swallowing his saliva. "Hey, there's so much food here, the two of us can't finish it all, just do us a favor." As he said that, Harry stuffed the cake into Ronald's hands. Remy took the cake and started to clean up the things on the top layer of the cart, moving them to the 2 layers below, and throwing some to Harry and Ronald. After clearing an area, Remy motioned for Harry to put down the remaining cakes, then stood up, opened his suitcase and took out a set of tea sets. "Great, I was just thinking we'd be very thirsty if we ate like this," said Harry. "Have a cup of tea, then." After pouring 3 cups of tea, Remy took out a small box filled with magic crystals. He took out a piece and put it in his cup. The tempting aroma immediately perked up the 3 people in the compartment. "What is this? It smells so good," Ronald asked. "Medicine," Remy said, "mana-restoring medicine, which can make people more energetic. Do you want to try it, medicine?" Harry and Ronald looked at each other in surprise, and then a hint of sympathy appeared in their eyes. "No, keep it for a rainy day," Harry said. "Well, let's just have tea," Ronald said. Remy felt a little confused, but nodded and put the box away. "Drinking tea, eating cakes and snacks, it's afternoon tea time now, how comfortable it is." While enjoying the beautiful view outside the window, Remy listened to Ronald introducing Harry to various snacks and listened to their casual chat to relieve boredom. After a while, noticing that there was no sound, Remy withdrew his gaze and looked at the two of them. Ronald was eating, while Harry was staring at a small card. "What are you looking at so fascinated?" As he spoke, Remy took the small card from Harry's hand. "Phew! Druid Cleona, you're into that, Harry," Remy said jokingly. No. Harry's face flushed instantly. I just. Covering up is the truth. After returning the card to Harry, Remy bent down and took out a box from the suitcase, then took out a dozen cards from it and handed them to Harry. Looking at the portraits on the cards, Harry's eyes suddenly widened. Chapter 17. Wow, this is a great picture. This one is great too. I always thought I was only 2 away from completing the collection, but I didn't expect there were so many. Are these new releases? Ronald asked with shining eyes. No, these have been released a long time ago, but they are collector's editions exclusive to the French wizarding community and are not sold to underage wizards. Remy explained. So that's how it is, no wonder I've never heard of it before, it's awesome, said Ronald. He held a card in his hand, staring at it intently without blinking. If you like it, I'll give it to you. I have several sets of this thing. Remy said. Really? Thank you so much. Isn't this, not good? Harry lowered his head in embarrassment, but his eyes were uncontrollably directed at the sexy female wizard who was 1/8 Vila and was winking at him. With a slight smile, Remy handed the box to Harry, then took out another box and handed it to Ronald. Ronald cheered and took it quickly, then couldn't wait to open it and check it out. The more he looked at it, the hotter his eyes became. For a moment, the compartment was completely silent, no one was talking anymore, only the occasional sounds of pouring and drinking tea could be heard. You can tell from the gulp sound that the person drinking the tea is very thirsty. Leaning against the window and looking outside, I saw large tracts of farmland far away from the train, and a dark green hill opened its arms to welcome the train. This suddenly reminded Remy of a song. Thump thump thump. Remy stretched out a finger and gently beat a rhythm for himself on the cart and hummed softly. If you miss the train I'm on you will know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Lord, I'm 1, Lord, I'm 2, Lord, I'm 3, Lord, I'm 4, Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home. Halfway through a song, Remy suddenly stopped and turned to look at the door. At the door of the cubicle, a little girl with brown hair was standing there blankly, holding the door edge with one hand. Remy's eyes lit up as he recognized her as Hermione. The front teeth that were exposed when her arms were slightly open were the best evidence. Noticing Remy's gaze, Hermione blushed at first, then after a slight hesitation she took a deep breath and opened the door. Excuse me, have you seen a toad? A man named Neville lost a toad. Hermione said. No, we haven't left here since we got on the bus. Remy said as he flipped over a new cup and poured a cup of tea. He held the cup out to Hermione. Would you like a cup of tea? I can hear that your voice is a little dry. You must have been looking for toads for quite some time, right? Remy said with a smile. Hermione looked embarrassed, hesitated for a moment, walked in, took the teacup and whispered thank you. Was the song you just sang a song from the Wizarding World? It was very nice. Hermione said. No, it's an old song that's very popular in Magnesium. It's called 500 Miles, Remy explained. Hermione was stunned for a moment. So you are also from the Muggle world? Yeah, don't I look like one? No. What's the difference? Not at all. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Remy Barrett, and I'm a real Muggle from the world. Looking at Remy's outstretched hand, Hermione frowned slightly in confusion, then reached out and shook it. My name is Hermione Granger. I still feel like you grew up in the Wizarding world. Hermione said, I bought a lot of books in Diagon Alley after receiving the acceptance letter. You give me the same feeling as the pureblood families in the Wizarding world described in the books. Oh? Really? It's not because I'm drinking tea, is it? Remy asked with a smile, and then reached out to touch his face, or does my handsome appearance just happen to fit your fantasy of a noble young master in the Wizarding world? Hermione blushed and quickly lowered her head to drink her tea. After drinking half a cup in one breath, Hermione raised her head again. By the way, have you two seen Neville's toad? As soon as she asked, Hermione was suddenly stunned. She noticed the special mark on Harry's forehead. You are not Harry Potter? Hermione asked. Ah, yes, my name is indeed Harry Potter. Harry said as he subconsciously lifted his veil to show the lightning mark to Hermione. I heard everyone talking about you on my way here. You must have grown up in the Wizarding world, right? I wonder what magic you know? Can you show it to me? Hermione asked. Harry was suddenly embarrassed and stammered, not knowing what to say. Although Harry is a well-known figure in the Wizarding world, he grew up in his aunt's house, which means that he actually comes from the Muggle world. Remy explained for Harry. Hermione's face was blank. She looked at Harry, then at Remy, and then at Ronald in confusion. Well, it seems that I am the only one here who grew up in the magical world. Ronald said helplessly after swallowing the food in his mouth. Oh? Then you must know a lot of magic. This, I do know a little bit. That's great. Show us. Ronald looked a little embarrassed when he heard Hermione's words. He hesitated and put his hand into his pocket as if he had grabbed something, but he didn't take it out for a long time. Hermione, underage wizards are not allowed to cast spells outside of school. This is the regulation of the Ministry of Magic. If they violate it, they will be arrested and locked up by the Ministry of Magic. Remy helped Ronald out. Is this true? Hermione's eyes widened in fear, but when I was at home. Because you hadn't enrolled at that time, and it was impossible for you to use powerful magic when you first came into contact with magic, so the supervision was not very strict. Now we are on our way to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You don't want to see Ronald being expelled before he even enrolls, do you? Remy explained. Oh. Hermione suddenly realized what was going on, and then gave Ronald an apologetic smile. I'm sorry, I didn't know there was such a rule, I wasn't right. Hermione's head snapped up and she looked at Remy. Didn't you just say that you were from the Muggle world? I've read all the books you were asked to buy in the admission letter, and it doesn't mention that there is such a rule in the wizarding world. You were lying to me just now. Hermione stared at Remy and said. That. Harry raised his finger weakly and pointed at Remy. Remy not only bought the magic books mentioned in the admission letter, he also bought a lot of magic books that were not mentioned in the letter. Hermione was stunned at first, then there was an indescribable emotion in her eyes when she looked at Remy. At the same time, a strong aura emerged from her and pressed towards Remy. Remy's face changed. He was so familiar with this momentum. It is the legendary. Chapter 18. Legend has it that there is a kind of creature called Swiba, who can easily suppress another kind of creature called Sueza. Among the top students, there are different levels. Those at the top of the food chain are called the top students. The top student at the King of Curls level possesses a legendary ability. The Overlord Curl Aura. Even ordinary top students would tremble in fear when facing the domineering aura and dare not look at it. Poor students would be suffocated or even fainted when they are suppressed by it. Facing the overwhelming aura that was blowing towards him, Remy struggled to hold on, tremblingly picked up the teacup and drank a sip of tea to calm himself down. However, the next moment, the owner of the domineering aura suddenly sat down next to him, scaring Remy so much that he almost dropped the teacup. I didn't expect you like reading too. It just so happens that I have some questions I don't understand and would like to ask you. Hermione said. Here it comes, here it comes. That's it. There is provocation in the calmness, and mockery and disdain in the provocation. This is the legendary domineering chi scroll that can only be used by the top masters who possess the domineering chi scroll. Remy forced a smile, haha. Actually, I bought the books just to pretend, I never read. Hermione's pupils shrank suddenly, and a trace of solemnity appeared in her eyes. He could actually use the legendary power of pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger that only the top students in the control grade could possess. She had only heard some rumors about masters of this level, but she didn't expect to see a living one today. Such an opportunity must not be missed. As long as I can defeat him, my Overlord Color Scroll Chi will definitely reach a higher level. Oh, just a simple exchange. How many nuts are equal to 3 galleons? Hermione smiled and suddenly launched a sneak attack, triggering the first move, increasing the attack power by 20%. Boom! Ronald, who was sitting opposite, had never studied mathematics, so he foamed at the mouth and fainted instantly under the suppression of the domineering aura. Harry's mind was working rapidly, and he used addition to defend himself and managed to hold on. Sweat was pouring down his forehead. Remy uses multiplication to defend and uses mental arithmetic. 1 gold galleon is equal to 17 silver sickles, which is equal to 493 nuts, so 3 galleons is equal to 1,479 nuts. Remy said. Hermione nodded, her eyes becoming more serious. Not only does he know math, but he can even do multiplication. This person is really not simple. What's the difference between aconitum naviculatum and aconitum camajasm? Hermione continued to ask. They are just different names. They are all aconitum. What kind of potion is needed to make the water of life and death? You can make the water of life and death by adding powdered narcissus root to the infusion of wormwood. What color are newborn unicorns? Gold. Unicorns are golden when they are born, and silver when they grow up. What magical creature looks like a house cat? A catkin, also called a lion-tailed cat. Well, there is actually another magical creature called Zoo that looks very similar to a cat, except that it is larger than a lion or tiger. I have always wanted to raise one, but unfortunately I have no way to get one. Hermione immediately covered her chest and looked at Remy in disbelief. Facing her attack, Remy not only blocked it perfectly, but also threw out something that she didn't understand or had never even heard of. This blocking and counterattack caused her to suffer considerable injuries. Hurry to adjust her state, Hermione continued to attack Remy and used a quick attack tactic. However, facing Hermione's questions one after another, Remy handled them all with ease. Although he had never studied magic, he had learned a lot of knowledge and trivia. In addition, what Hermione knew now was all from the first-year textbook, so those questions were not difficult for Remy at all. As more and more questions were asked, Hermione's health was reduced by Remy's defensive counterattacks, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Her lips became paler and paler, and her body even began to tremble slightly. Finally, when she had asked all the questions she could think of and could not think of what to ask next, she rolled her eyes and fell down in her seat. Her head fell right on Remy's legs, which scared Remy. Wow, I didn't expect that I am now a super academic master. I even defeated Hermione, a top student. Wait, is there something wrong with my focus? Suddenly realizing what was happening, Remy first looked across at the opposite side. Ronald and Harry on the opposite side had already fainted. At this moment, they were lying on their backs with foam coming out of their mouths. Their arms would twitch from time to time, as if they were having a nightmare. Hermione was lying on her side in the seat, her long, slightly curly brown hair covering her face, her two hands clenched into fists, as if she was still unwilling to give up. The little girl is really cute. Ahem, no, I'm a gentleman. Stroking Hermione's hair, Remy took out a piece of paper from the cart and wiped the sweat from her forehead, then poured her a cup of tea and drank it leisurely. Today's tea is particularly sweet and delicious. The train continued to move forward along the designated track, crossing endless plains, through mountainous canyons, and through several dark and deep tunnels in between. Before Remy knew it, his eyelids were fighting each other, but they finally put aside their grudges and hugged each other tightly. It was not until Remy was awakened by a violent shaking that he looked outside and found that it was already dark. What's wrong? What happened? Why did I fall asleep? Have we arrived yet? Hey? Remy, why is she, you two? Ronald pointed at Remy and then at Hermione, who was still lying on Remy's legs and was about to say something when suddenly, a voice came from the radio. This train will arrive at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in 5 minutes. Please put on your school uniform and prepare to get off the train. Please put your luggage on the train and a house elf will help you get to school. The announcement was repeated 3 times in a row. Ronald ignored the gossip and hurried to look through his luggage for his school uniform. Remy, my school uniform, is it convenient for you to open the suitcase now? Harry asked. Remy looked down at Hermione, whose body stiffened for a moment, and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. I think so, just wait a minute. As he spoke, Remy gently lifted Hermione's head and took a box of candies from the trolley for her to continue using as a pillow, then he stood up to get the suitcase. It looks like it's quite cold outside. I suggest you put your school robe over your coat, said Remy. Harry glanced at the condensation on the window and nodded vigorously. Remy, don't we need to wake her up? Ronald asked after changing into his school uniform. Wake her up? The witch cannot be disturbed. No need, didn't you notice that she was wearing a school uniform? Remy said. But she's about to get off the bus. If she misses it. Ahem. Harry tugged at Ronald's sleeve and said, okay, let's go out first. I don't want to be the last one to get off the bus. It would be bad if I fell behind. Chapter 19. Oh, yes, let's go. Remy, hurry up. Got it. I'll leave a note for the house elves to bring these snacks along for us. After writing a note and placing it on the cart, Remy looked at Hermione and thought for a moment, then he took out a coat from the suitcase and put it on Hermione. Everyone should be crowded in the aisle waiting to get off the train. It's quite cold outside. I'm afraid it's too late for you to return to your compartment now. This shirt is for you. After saying that, Remy straightened his wizard robe and walked out of the cubicle. Hermione breathed a sigh of relief when she heard the compartment door close. After waiting for a while, until the train came to a complete stop and the announcement was made again urging people on the train to get off, Hermione finally opened her eyes. Looking at the clothes on her body, Hermione blushed slightly and fell into hesitation. There was a cloud of white mist outside the train, most of which came from the woods next to the station, and a small part was exhaled by the students. It is very obvious under the dim street light. The station was small and shabby, with many students crowded together. Some were walking along with the crowd, while others were standing there stupidly. Fortunately, at this moment, a loud voice pointed them in the direction. First-year students, gather here. Along with this loud voice, a huge lantern like a searchlight drew circles in the air, and it could be vaguely seen that a huge person was shaking it. It's Hagrid. Harry, where are you? Come over here so I can see you. Hagrid exclaimed, before continuing to call for the first years to come over to him. Remy saw Harry and Ronald trying hard to squeeze forward, but he hesitated for a moment and did not follow. He doesn't really like crowds, at least not the kind of crowds that are crowded with people, especially when he is the one being squeezed. He prefers to watch people crowding together, and the more crowded it is, the better he likes to watch it. Following the crowd out of the station into a bumpy path, a cool breeze blew, and Remy tightened his wizard robe. It was indeed a bit chilly, a far cry from London at noon. The path was full of exposed stones, which had been rolled over by countless people with their shoes. Each stone was rounder than the other, and now became even more slippery after being wetted by water vapor. Unfortunately, this path is a steep downhill road, and people fall from time to time, sometimes even a large group of people fall. Remy watched from behind with a gloating look on his face, and kept sighing in his heart at his own wisdom. If he walks in a crowd, even if he doesn't slip, he may be pulled down by classmates who do. And now, he was walking alone behind the main group, it was impossible. Ah! I'll go. Remy, who was almost dragged down, quickly steadied himself and hugged the person who was dragging him. When he saw who it was, Remy was immediately happy. Are all girls nowadays so proactive? I am really ashamed. Okay, I have received your kindness, and I will seriously consider making you my 999th girlfriend. Remy joked. After hearing what Remy said, Hermione was so embarrassed that she couldn't say a word. She lowered her head and wished she could find a hole to crawl into. Walk slowly, don't worry, you won't be late. Straightening Hermione, Remy continued walking forward. After taking 2 steps, Remy suddenly stopped and turned to look at Hermione, who was standing there in a daze. But if you stop here, you will be late. Ah? Oh. Suddenly waking up, Hermione lowered her head and walked forward silently. When Hermione caught up, Remy continued to walk forward at the same speed as Hermione. It was awkward to just walk forward with your head down, so Remy thought about it and decided to break the awkward atmosphere himself. It is impossible to expect a socially disabled person to take the initiative to break the awkwardness, never in this life. I can sense that the arrogance you displayed when you first appeared on the train actually stems from your inferiority complex, because you care a lot about your background. You are actually worried that you are not as good as your peers who grew up in the wizarding world. Remy said. Who said that? I didn't. I just. In fact, you don't need to worry at all. Your peers who grew up in the wizarding world only know more about some common sense of the wizarding world than you. The vast majority of wizarding families will not teach their children real magic before they enter school. In other words, children from Muggle-born and wizarding families are actually on the same starting line during school. Real? Of course it's true. You are lying to me. Don't tell me you saw this in a magic book. I don't believe there is such a thing in a magic book. I did grow up in the Muggle world, but 2 years ago I followed a teacher to live in the wizarding world. Actually, the place where he lived wasn't really the wizarding world, but I did learn a lot about it. Remy explained. You will be able to learn most of this common sense after staying in Hogwarts for 10 days or half a month. Hermione suddenly realized what was happening, and then felt even more ashamed. It turned out that I had misunderstood. Not only did I misunderstand, but I also questioned him one after another, and. When Hermione thought about what happened on the train, her head was in a mess until she was suddenly pulled back to her senses. You don't want to swim over there, do you? Remy said, pointing to the castle in the distance. Hermione turned her head in confusion, and then found herself only 1 step away from the lake. Hurry up and get on board, or we'll really be left behind. Oh, okay. Hermione didn't dare to raise her head as Remy pulled her onto the boat by her sleeve. It was not until the unmanned boat slowly started to move and a cool breeze blew that Hermione shuddered and subconsciously tightened her wizard robe. Thank you for the clothes. I guess it was you who gave me the clothes. Hermione whispered. There was no response. After a while, Hermione quietly raised her head and looked at Remy, and found that Remy was staring at the castle on the other side of the lake in a daze. The huge castle towering into the clouds stands on the cliff, bathed in the bright moonlight, making people want to explore it. The moonlight shines on the mirror-like surface of the lake, with only ripples appearing where boats pass by. The moonlight shone on Remy's body, illuminating his short black hair and making his violet eyes look even more mysterious. For a moment, the two people on the boat were in a daze. It wasn't until the boat reached the edge of the cliff and the castle was no longer in sight that Remy came to his senses. Hermione also came to her senses soon after and quickly turned her head away. It's amazing. This ship can sail on its own without any human control. Bow your head. Remy placed his hand on the top of Hermione's head and pressed it gently, and at the same time he lowered his head. At this moment, the two faces were so close that they could clearly feel each other's breathing. Chapter 20. After passing through a curtain of ivy and a dark, winding tunnel, the boat finally arrived at a place that looked like a dock. An underground dock located in a tunnel with only one passage leading to nowhere. Seeing the boat approaching, Hagrid, who was standing on the shore, breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, Merlin's beard, I thought someone fell into the water. Come with me. What would you do if someone really fell into the water? Remy asked curiously. Well, then I'm afraid I can only notify the professor to rescue you, and then get scolded. Hagrid shrugged. After getting off the boat, Hagrid checked the boat again to make sure nothing was left behind, and then took the two of them to meet up with the main force ahead. The road from the train station to the Black Lake is a wet, slippery, and steep downhill road. Now on the way to the castle, the road conditions are not much better, it has just become a wet, slippery, and steep uphill road. There is even a river in the tunnel underneath, so the water vapor has nowhere to go and can only float upwards along the upward channel. The entire tunnel was filled with fog, and everyone was wet and sticky as they walked along. This is not the end yet. After finally climbing out of the tunnel, we had to cross a large muddy, overgrown meadow. The weeds were generally 20 centimeters high, and the leaves were covered with dew. As they walked, the blades of grass occasionally brushed against the ankles of the little wizards. The dew not only wet their trouser legs but also flowed into their shoes, making them slip with every step, accompanied by a popping sound. After many hardships, they finally arrived at the castle gate under the leadership of Hagrid. We're here. Is everyone here? Hagrid asked loudly. No one answered. Of course it was impossible for anyone to answer. After all, it is impossible for someone who hasn't arrived yet to appear here and tell Hagrid, wait for me, I'm not there yet. After waiting for a while, until Hagrid checked the number of people and made sure that everyone was there, he raised his huge fist like a battering ram and knocked on the door 3 times. Not sure if it was an illusion, but Remy vaguely saw dust rustling down on the door. Poor gate, I wonder how many more years it can last. But at least there was no problem at this moment. With a creaking sound, the 2 doors opened at the same time, and then a serious-looking female wizard walked out of the castle. She was tall and thin, wearing an emerald green wizard robe and a pointed wizard hat on her black hair. She looked like a teacher at least at the level of a dean of studies. In the entire Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, only Professor McGonagall fits this image. Thank you for your hard work, Hagrid. Leave the rest to me, said Professor McGonagall. Hagrid bowed and stepped aside, then without looking back, he disappeared into the night carrying his huge lantern that looked like it had been taken off a train. Professor McGonagall glanced at everyone and nodded slightly. Then he waved his hand and the 2 doors opened completely and automatically without any wind. Come with me, said Professor McGonagall. Following Professor McGonagall into the castle, we were greeted by a hall. The surrounding walls were built by Dwayne Johnson, and there was a burning torch every 1 meter or so to provide lighting and bring a touch of warmth to the little wizards. The ground was paved with marble and was very slippery, especially at this moment when the soles and socks of the little wizards were wet, which forced them to walk very carefully. For a moment, many people's walking postures became very strange. With so much marble, the radiation level must be considerable. Could the wizard be a mutant who has been exposed to excessive radiation? Lost in thought, Remy followed the crowd through the hall to the staircase opposite, which was also made of marble. After going up the stairs, they passed through another corridor. After passing a door that sounded messy, Professor McGonagall led them to an empty room at the corner at the end of the corridor. Welcome to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Professor McGonagall said. The welcome party is about to begin, but before you arrive at the auditorium and take your seats, you must first determine which college you will each enter. During your study at school, the college is your home at Hogwarts. You will attend classes, rest, and spend spare time with other students in the college, so the sorting is very important. Professor McGonagall's words immediately brought back Remy's memories. He remembered that when he was in school, the principal and the class teacher often told students that the school is their home, the class is their home, and they should take care of the class as their own home, and so on, especially when it was time for a general cleaning. However, once they go to sleep or eat snacks, they will immediately turn hostile and yell at you, "Do you think school is your home?" It's extremely double standard, and it's obvious. While Remy was lost in thought, Professor McGonagall continued to speak. There are 4 houses at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. They are Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. During your studies at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, your outstanding performance will win extra points for your house, and any violations will cause your house to lose points. At the end of each academic year, the house with the highest score can win the House Cup, which is a great honor. No matter which house you are assigned to, I hope you can bring honor to your house, instead of deducting all the points from that house. The sorting ceremony will be held in front of all the teachers and students in the school. It will begin in a few minutes, so I suggest that you tidy up your clothes and adjust your state now. That way you will look more energetic. After the previous difficult journey, are we in high spirits? Remy rolled his eyes. I'll come get you when it's ready over there. Now, just be quiet. Perhaps noticing Remy's eye roll, Professor McGonagall deliberately glanced at Remy before leaving. As soon as Professor McGonagall left, everyone hurriedly prepared their own funeral forms and prepared to go to the execution ground in September. After all, it is autumn now, and the executioner also needs the joy of harvest, right? Just as Remy was fixing his hair, there was a commotion behind the crowd, and then little Mago came over under the protection of 2 younger brothers who looked a bit burly compared to the other little wizards. "Hello again, Remy," Draco said, extending his hand. "Oh, hello, what's the matter?" After shaking hands, Remy asked with some confusion. "Why did this kid come to me instead of Harry?" Draco didn't say anything, but instead glanced at Hermione, who was half hidden behind Remy and carefully fixing her hair. A hint of hostility appeared in his eyes. Remy's heart skipped a beat when he noticed the change in Draco's eyes. This boy, could it be that he is attracted by my beauty? Chapter 21. Remy, a noble like you should not make friends with such questionable people. If you need, I can introduce you to many friends. Malfoy said. Noble? Hermione's eyes widened and she looked at Remy in disbelief. Remy was also stunned, then she smiled and smoothed her hair. Oh, pony. No, Malfoy, I think you misunderstood. I just told you that my family is in Magnesium, but I didn't say that my family is in the wizarding world of Magnesium. Remy said. In fact, my parents are Muggles, and so are all my other relatives. WTF. Malfoy suddenly had a confused expression of old people, subways, and mobile phones. It wasn't until he heard laughter all around that Malfoy came to his senses and his little face turned red instantly. Feeling humiliated, Malfoy pointed at Remy with a trembling hand. Not knowing how he got off the stage, he suddenly became incoherent. You, how dare you lie to me? Remy, you cheated on my feelings. I'm going to tell my dad. WTF. Remy suddenly showed the same confused expression as Malfoy just now about the old man, subway, and mobile phone. At the same time, the other little wizards were silent at first, and then broke into a chaotic discussion. What's going on? This Remy cheated on that Malfoy. They are a couple? 2 men. Wow, I have a big melon to eat. I'm so happy. The magic world is amazing. Which of them is one? Need I say more? I can tell by listening, the one called Remy must be number 1. He actually wanted to tell his father. Could it be that they have already? Are all wizard families like this? No, I'm from a wizard family too. This is just an isolated case. Don't escalate it to all wizard families. Listening to the criticisms around them, not only Malfoy, but even Remy's face turned purple. My goodness, I never expected that Malfoy would be such a baby. He actually set a trap for me on the first day of school and labeled me with this identity. How can I pick up girls in the future? No, something must be done. Thinking of this, Remy's brain worked rapidly. When Remy caught a glimpse of Hermione, his heart skipped a beat. Bang, putting his arm around Hermione's shoulders, Remy stretched out his hand and shook a finger. No, I'm a man and I like women, so don't be so self-indulgent and wishful thinking. You want to frame me by self-destructing? Maybe in the next life. Today I will let you know that the self-destruction trend has no future. At this moment, everyone's eyes were instantly fixed on Malfoy. The gazes were like scorching spotlights, making Malfoy sweat profusely and his face turn as pale as paper. Fault reports quickly flashed across his brain, and various warning pop-ups were stacked densely and continued to pop up. His entire brain suddenly froze due to insufficient available resources. You are lying. I don't believe it. How could you possibly, could it be? Swish, all eyes instantly shifted to Remy. Remy's eyes were solemn. He never expected that Malfoy would be so cunning. He could kill him with just half a sentence that he kept repeating. You must not continue to follow what the other party says at this moment, otherwise you will completely lose the chance to turn the situation around. But where should we break the deadlock? Just when Remy was getting anxious, suddenly, a pair of hands embraced Remy's neck, and then a soft touch gently touched his cheek. Remy was stunned. Remy is my boyfriend and we have been together for 2 years. Don't let your wishful thinking get in the way, said Hermione. Coming back to his senses, he looked at Hermione who was hugging him tightly with her arms, and Remy also put his hand gently on her back. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Malfoy shouted wildly, waving his arms vigorously. Remy, he can't be. How could he be with a mudblood like you? Mudblood? Hermione felt as if her heart was squeezed hard. Although she didn't know much about the wizarding world, she knew what the term mudblood meant. She had heard people talk about it when she was helping Neville find a toad on the train. Pursing her lips, Hermione lowered her head and was about to let go of her hand, but suddenly she realized that the hand that was originally on her shoulder was hugging her tightly and holding her in his arms. Thank you for helping me. Leave the rest to me. No matter what happens, don't speak. Remy said softly, holding Hermione in his arms with one hand, and then took out a silver. I'm boiling. Hand, pistol. A gun? That can't be real. Impossible. How could you bring a gun to a magic school? It should be a toy, right? But this metallic texture, why do I feel like it's real? Many young Muggle-born wizards around recognized the thing in Remy's hand and were so scared that their eyes almost popped out of their heads. Then they started to discuss in a low voice. Some thought it was a real gun, while others thought it was a toy. Harry looked at Remy in doubt. Based on what he knew about Remy in just one day, it was possible that this guy was carrying a real gun. Hermione shuddered and was about to say something, but suddenly remembered what Remy had just said. After a brief hesitation, she continued to bury her head in Remy's chest. Let me introduce you to this thing. It's a weapon invented by Muggles. It's called the Cold Python revolver, and it uses .357 Magnum pistol bullets. As he introduced them, Remy used the hand that was holding Hermione's to take out 6 bullets from the inner pocket of his coat and loaded them into the revolver's unique cylinder. At this moment, all the little wizards who knew what a gun was gasped and stepped back subconsciously. It's real bullets. This gun must be real. This lunatic actually brought a gun to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Due to the enormous power of being able to kill an opponent with just a hit to the torso, Colt once came up with a slogan that is now well known to everyone: God created all beings, and Colt made all beings equal. SS. Twist the cylinder with a little force and give it a handsome shake. With a click, the cylinder returns to its place. Then, Remy pointed the gun at Malfoy's head. Guess, can this Muggle-made weapon kill you? Remy asked. Remy. Harry squeezed through the crowd, and stretched out his hand in shock and fear to grab the gun, but he didn't dare to, for fear that Remy would make a mistake and really kill Malfoy. Calm down, Remy. I don't know what he just said, but it shouldn't be this serious, right? Right, Remy, calm down. This is no joke. Put the gun down and talk it over. Remy, if you're upset I can help you scold him. Just tell me, whether you want to scold him or his mother, I can do both. What are you yelling at? Just beat him up. Remy, put the gun down first, and let us drag him out and beat him up, how about that? Under the fearful and earnest persuasion of the little wizards, Remy took back the gun and then pointed it at the door. Chapter 22. Although I grew up in the Muggle world, I was lucky enough to meet a teacher 2 years ago, and I have been living with the teacher ever since. Therefore, I know very well that many wizards in the wizarding world look down on wizards in the Muggle world, especially the so-called pure-blood families. Looking around, Remy glanced at the door to make sure no one was there. Today I will let you wake up a little, let you know how ignorant you are, and how ridiculous the things you are proud of are. After saying that, Remy pulled the trigger continuously. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. 6 consecutive loud noises came from the revolver, and the room suddenly became chaotic with screams everywhere, frightening even the little wizards from the Muggle world. This madman not only brought a gun to school, he actually dared to shoot. They even became more panicked. After all, the other wizards were just frightened by the loud noise, but they knew that compared to the audible sound, the invisible bullet fired at high speed was the real deadly thing. Malfoy was so scared that he collapsed to the ground. He couldn't believe that he had just faced such a terrifying thing, and it was right above his head. Just when the situation was in a mess, Professor McGonagall ran into the room in a panic and immediately saw Remy dumping bullet casings out. Quiet! Professor McGonagall shouted to stop the noise in the room, then looked at Remy sullenly. Mr. Barrett, I think you need to give me an explanation. If you can't give me a reasonable explanation, even Headmaster Dumbledore can't prevent you from being expelled, said Professor McGonagall. Ding-ailing after dumping out the shells, Remy shook the gun to reset the cylinder, then pointed at Malfoy who had shrunk to the wall behind him. He affectionately called me a mudblood, so I enthusiastically introduced him to some little toys invented by Muggles. No one was hurt, and no guns were fired into the room, right? Remy said calmly. Professor McGonagall glanced at the horrified Malfoy and his expression eased a little. Such words were indeed something he could say. And what Remy said was true, no one was hurt. But then, Professor McGonagall frowned again. Mr. Barrett, even if this is the case, it is not a reason for you to shoot. Do you know how dangerous it is for you to do this? What if? Nothing will happen, Professor. Remy interrupted, a gun is just a tool, just like a wand. Whether it is dangerous or not depends on the person holding it. It is not dangerous in my hands. No, they are different. Professor McGonagall shook his head, the wand will not be lethal in your hands, but the gun is different. Professor McGonagall held out his hand to Remy. You can't use this dangerous weapon at will now. Give it to me for safekeeping. This gun of mine was custom made, and my name is engraved on it. This gun cost me more than $20,000, which is equivalent to nearly 300 galleons, said Remy. I'm so mad. So expensive. Many young wizards from wizard families suddenly widened their eyes, and some of them doubted whether they had heard it wrongly. 300 galleons for a thing like this? Are you sure it's not CKR? Or Nat? Are prices so high in the Muggle world? Even Professor McGonagall couldn't help but be a little surprised. Okay, I'll keep it safe. Nodding, taking Remy's gun away, Professor McGonagall glanced around, then clapped his hands. Now, you line up and follow me, said Professor McGonagall. Many little wizards looked at each other, and then consciously lined up behind Remy. It's not that they want to mess with Remy, but Remy is now standing closest to the door. There were some closer before, but they were all scared away after Remy fired the gun. However, Remy didn't want to be first. Patting Hermione's shoulder, Remy released her hand, grabbed her sleeve and led her to the back of the line. I was so scared just now. I thought you would be fired. Hermione said in a low voice. Don't worry, my teacher and Headmaster Dumbledore have been good friends for many years. I have a strong backing, otherwise I wouldn't have shot just now. Remy said. That's too dangerous. Can you please not do such dangerous things in the future? Well, it's a little difficult, but I promise you I will try my best to control myself. For some reason, Hermione suddenly stopped talking again. Walking out of the room in a line, every little wizard couldn't help but gasp after seeing the bullet holes in the passage, especially those little wizards who had never heard of such things as guns. Remy and Hermione followed the procession out of the room and into the great hall at the end. The auditorium was magnificent, with 4 long tables stretching from one end of the hall to the other. Every table was filled with students, with only the area at the front being empty. The 4 long tables were filled with glittering golden plates and high-footed wine glasses. Fortunately, there was no food on the tables at the moment, otherwise it would have been a critical blow to the little wizards who had traveled across mountains and rivers to come here. There were thousands of lit candles floating in the air above the table, too many to count. They are not fixed, but are always moving, seemingly with a regular pattern and yet without a regular pattern. Under the gaze of many young faces, the young wizards lined up and walked into the auditorium. Walking along the aisle in the middle of the hall to the front, on the platform between the teachers' seats and 4 long tables, the young wizards lined up and looked at Professor McGonagall nervously. She placed a dirty-looking wizard hat on a high stool. This wizard's hat is dirty, old, and patched. If it were thrown in Diagon Alley, I'm afraid no one would pick it up. But it was obviously not as terrible as its appearance, because since it appeared, everyone in the auditorium had their eyes on it. After a while, it began to twist, and then a crack like a mouth appeared. Then, I heard it suddenly start singing. You may think I am not pretty. But don't judge a person by his appearance. If you can find a prettier hat than mine, I could eat myself. You can make your bowler hats black and shiny, let your high silk hats be smooth and crisp. I am the sorting hat of Hogwarts. Of course it is taller than your hats. Any thoughts hidden in your mind, no one can escape the sorting hat's sharp eyes. Try it on and I'll tell you. Which college should you be assigned to? You might belong in Gryffindor. There is courage buried deep in my heart, their courage, spirit, and chivalry, to make Gryffindor outstanding. You may belong to Hufflepuff. The people there are honest and loyal. Hufflepuff students are tenacious and honest. Not afraid of hard work. If you are smart, maybe into the wisdom of Ravenclaw. Those who are wise and knowledgeable, they will always meet their fellow travelers there. Maybe you'll go to Slytherin. Make sincere friends here. But those cunning and sinister people will stop at nothing to achieve their goals. Come where me. Don't be afraid. Don't panic. In my hands, even though I don't have any hands, you are absolutely safe because I am a thinking magic hat. Chapter 23. Hogwarts Great Hall. Dumbledore is the headmaster. 10 professors sat behind the stage. The 4 major colleges are listed on both sides, sorting first, then taking your place. You are Dumbledore's apprentice. This sorting hat is unbelievable and sloppy, but it has great power. Snape, headmaster of Snake House, and deputy headmaster of Lion House. Snape, strong in potions, loyal and cold-faced. The vice principal is a cat girl, and she is ruthless in the classroom. Flitwick, dean of the Eagle Academy, said that appearance is not the best indicator of a duel champion. Sprout manages the Badger Yard, and is good at both planting and cooking. One by one, the little wizards whose names were called walked to the high stools, put on the sorting hat, and were sorted into different houses. Remy watched from the side and hummed a jingle he had made up in his heart, and he thought it was much better than the song the sorting hat had just sung. At least he didn't criticize anyone, unlike the sorting hat, which praised 3 houses and only criticized the Snake House, although there was a hint of sarcasm in that. Remy Barrett. Is it my turn so soon? They didn't come in the order of the queue, so why did they have to queue before? Formalism, bad review. Shaking his hair, Remy walked out of the line, walked to the high stool and sat down. Behind him, Headmaster Dumbledore suddenly perked up, his eyes fixed on the back of Remy's head. Next to the plate in front of him was a gun, which Professor McGonagall had just handed to him. Dumbledore was also a little surprised about this gun, but after all, he had already been warned by Nicholas Flamel. He was just surprised that Remy actually brought a gun to Hogwarts and used it. This old guy is trying to trick me again, but which house will you be sorted into? Dumbledore thought curiously. Before the gun appeared, Dumbledore thought Remy should be sorted into Ravenclaw House, but now, he was a little unsure. It seems that both Gryffindor and Slytherin are possible, especially Slytherin. If Remy went to Slytherin, where power is supreme, with his abilities he would have turned the place upside down, right? Thinking of this, Dumbledore suddenly got a headache. After Remy sat down, Professor McGonagall, holding the sorting hat, turned her head slightly and glanced at Dumbledore. After getting Dumbledore's nod, she gently placed the sorting hat on Remy's head. The huge hat instantly covered half of Remy's face. Let me see what qualities you possess and where you should go. The sorting hat suddenly stopped talking. What does it see? It saw a magic supplies store called Remy's Aid opened in Diagon Alley, and there was a constant stream of people going there to shop. It saw that in this store, Remy was happily introducing magical items called magic guns to customers, and shouted that these things were much more useful than magic wands. It saw boxes of magical items called magic grenades stored in the warehouse, and magic missiles on the shelves next to them. It saw that in a very deep basement, something called a magic nuclear bomb was being tested. It sees Azkaban. Dumbledore. Imprison him in Azkaban immediately. Right now. Right now. Immediately. Now. Azkaban? Is there such a house at Hogwarts? Is it newly built? Or a hidden academy? Some young wizards who didn't know the truth whispered to the people around them, while some young wizards who knew what Azkaban was looked at the Sorting Hat in surprise. They didn't understand why the Sorting Hat asked Dumbledore to send Remy to Azkaban, which was not a good place. However, what surprised them even more was that Remy cheered and jumped up when he heard the Sorting Hat's shout. "Woohoo, take off! Thank you so much, Mr. Sorting Hat. I have long wanted to go to Azkaban to catch a Dementor for fun. Principal Dumbledore, did you hear everything? Mr. Sorting Hat sorted me into Azkaban, please send me there. Dumbledore." At this moment, Dumbledore felt that his future was bleak. A student with magical powers beyond imagination, a love for dangerous guns and the courage to use them, and aspirations for Azkaban, God knows how much trouble he will cause in Hogwarts. With an imperceptible sigh, Headmaster Dumbledore stood up, stretched out his hands and pressed them downward, signaling everyone to be quiet. "Sorting Hat, although I asked you to play a joke on this student of my old friend, your joke went a little too far. Officially separate Remy into a new house." Dumbledore looked at the Sorting Hat deeply, with a warning look in his eyes, warning it not to talk nonsense. Seeing Dumbledore's statement, the Sorting Hat sighed helplessly. Although it has thoughts, it is just a magic hat after all. Since Dumbledore does not support it, it can't do anything. And it couldn't go against Dumbledore's decision. Apologize to Remy, and the Sorting Hat lets Remy put it back on. Remy, who was overjoyed for nothing, reluctantly put the Sorting Hat back on. Then the Sorting Hat made a series of humming and ahing sounds, and no one knew what went wrong with it. Remy became impatient after waiting for a long time without the Sorting Hat assigning him a house. There are so many people watching in the audience. How can he get off the stage if he continues like this? Have you thought it through? If all else fails, sort me into Gryffindor, and Ravenclaw as well. Okay. Gryffindor. Remy. Are you waiting for me to randomly name a college, having been hesitating here for so long? In stark contrast to Remy's speechless expression, after hearing the word Gryffindor, Harry and Hermione, who had not yet been sorted, both breathed a sigh of relief. Although they didn't know what exactly happened, they knew that Remy would not be fired, at least not now. Snap, snap, snap. Amid the applause, Remy wordlessly took off the Sorting Hat and handed it to Professor McGonagall, then walked off the stage and sat down at the Gryffindor table. Although he was the third student sorted into Gryffindor, he did not sit next to the older students, but sat in the middle, neither too close nor too far away. It's simple, it's just that this place is quite spacious and the competition pressure will be much less once the food is served. After a while, several more young wizards were sorted into Gryffindor, but as Remy had expected, they did not sit next to him. Until Hermione was sorted into Gryffindor house, she hesitated for a long time, and finally sat next to Remy, but there was one person between them. Remy smiled slightly and shifted his position to sit next to Hermione. Hermione was sitting so close to him, wouldn't it be foolish for him not to take the initiative? As expected, Hermione did not object to Remy's arrival. Instead, she took the initiative to talk about the ceiling of the Great Hall. After chatting for a while, suddenly, there was an unprecedented burst of warm applause and cheers all around. It turned out that Harry Potter came to the Lion Court. Chapter 24. As he wished, he arrived at Gryffindor College where Remy and Ronald were. Harry put down the Sorting Hat and walked quickly towards the long table of Gryffindor College. He didn't go looking for Remy, but patted Remy on the shoulder when he passed by Remy, gave Remy a thumbs up, and whispered, "Come on." Then he walked forward and sat down next to Ronald. Ronald glanced at Remy and Hermione who were almost leaning against each other. For some reason, he always felt that something was wrong, as if a voice in the dark was whispering to him, "The plot shouldn't be like this, you are." The sorting is still going on, and one by one the little wizards are heading to their destined place under the judgment of the Sorting Hat. Everyone's arrival will be welcomed with applause from the students of that college. Although the applause is warm, there are still differences. For example, those who are good-looking or handsome receive obviously more enthusiastic applause than others. The magical world is also a world where appearance matters. Remy's heart was broken when he saw the beauties being sent to other hospitals one by one. Trying to mend his broken heart, Remy turned to look at Hermione. Hermione has a delicate face, but her long bangs and fluffy, somewhat messy hair almost hide her beauty, and coupled with her slightly conspicuous front teeth, all she needs is a pair of glasses with thick lenses to complete the look. Why are you looking at me like that? Is there is there something dirty on my face? Under Remy's gaze, Hermione lowered her head in panic and wiped her face with her hands again and again. No, I just feel that although you are very beautiful now, you will definitely be more beautiful if you change your hairstyle, it will be easy to become the campus beauty. Remy said. Hermione blushed and didn't respond, she just continued to wipe her face. At this moment, the last young wizard was sorted into Slytherin College, and the sorting ceremony officially ended. Professor McGonagall put away the scroll and nodded to Dumbledore, who then stood up. Welcome to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry to start a new school year. Dumbledore said. Before the party begins, I have 2 things to say, idiot. Crybaby. Scum. Twist. Thank you everyone. It was not until Dumbledore sat down that the young wizards came to their senses. Great. Well said. Remy stood up and clapped vigorously as he spoke. He liked principals who didn't give long speeches. Led by Remy, the little wizards in the auditorium also applauded and cheered. Amidst thunderous applause, every table suddenly appeared filled with a variety of delicious food. The little wizards stopped clapping in unison at once, even more orderly than when they heard the command to stop. Looking at the food on the table, Remy breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Hogwarts would give him a table to look up at the stars, but fortunately, they didn't. Would you like a glass of orange juice? Remy asked. Okay, thank you. Pouring a glass of orange juice for Hermione and one for himself, Remy then pulled the lamb chops in front of him and devoured them. There was no one around them, including on the opposite side. Couldn't they just eat whatever delicious food they wanted in this huge area? Perhaps she was influenced by Remy's delicious eating, or perhaps she was really hungry. Hermione also started to eat voraciously after elegantly drinking 2 sips of orange juice. The young wizards were all very hungry, and the seniors were eating very enthusiastically, perhaps because they had been waiting in the auditorium for a long time and were hungry. When most people were about 70% full, the little wizards slowed down their eating and started chatting with the people around them. That gun should be bought for you by your parents, right? I once heard my father say that the gun control in Magnesium is much looser than in Britain, but do children there have guns? Hermione asked. Well, of course not. After swallowing the pudding in his mouth, Remy picked up the napkin and wiped his mouth. At least for now, children in the country cannot own guns. But I heard that several gun giants have already started preparing guns for children. In another 20 or 30 years, maybe everyone can own guns. Is this so scary? Then why did your parents buy you a gun? Are they worried that you would be alone in Ying country and want to protect yourself? Hermione asked. No. Remy shook his head, my parents both work for Barrett, a firearms company and a family business. Oh, I see. Hermione nodded, my parents are both dentists. Really? Then you can eat as much candy as you want, right? Even if you have cavities, your parents can help you treat them. On the contrary, my parents don't let me eat too many sweets. While they were chatting, suddenly, 2 big black rats came out from nowhere and appeared on Remy's left side. Hi, Remy. Times 2 people who looked exactly the same greeted each other in unusually synchronized movements. They were the Weasley twins who had met once at the train station. Hi, George Fred, what's up? Remy asked curiously. Oh, you gave us new names. Why not Fred George? The 2 asked one by one. I really can't explain this. How about you 2 have a fight and whoever wins gets their name on the back? Remy said with a smile. Well, I can consider it. But not now. We have something important to discuss with you. Times 2 as they spoke, they both leaned their heads towards Remy at the same time. We heard from Ronald that Professor McGonagall confiscated your gun, but not the bullets. Remy raised an eyebrow. Why, you want it? Yes, we are very interested in it. We know where Professor McGonagall keeps confiscated items. We can help you steal the gun back. Oh, you just quoted me a price? Are you so businesslike? Forget about the gun. Professor McGonagall just handed the gun to Headmaster Dumbledore. As for the bullets, I can give you some, but definitely not now. Remy said. Clear. Thank you so much, we will give you some equally interesting toys later. We're leaving now and won't bother you anymore. Have a nice day. The 2 of them chatted with each other and then disappeared under the long table. Remy suddenly realized and thought, no wonder I didn't notice them coming just now, it turned out that they were old Beijing people and they even walked under the tunnel. Hermione blushed and quickly lowered her head to continue eating. Where were we just now? Oh, by the way, you just misunderstood. Actually, my parents also live in Ying country. Oh? Where is your home then? Where is my home? Remy's face fell and he immediately told Hermione how unreliable his parents were. On the other side, a group of young wizards were frightened by the sudden appearance of the ghost army. Some of them wanted to come over to scare Remy, but when they saw the two people almost leaning against each other, every ghost turned their heads away with a look of disgust. The strong stench there is so strong that even ghosts can't stand it. Chapter 25. When all the little wizards had almost finished eating and started to concentrate on chatting, the food on the long table changed from delicious dishes to sweet and delicious desserts, ice cream, pudding, and tea. Unlike the previous Yorkshire pudding which was similar to a bread roll, this time it is a dessert pudding. As the food on the table changed, tea parties broke out throughout the auditorium. Looking at Hermione next to him, Remy felt that he couldn't be so unsociable. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter to him, but Hermione might be ostracized. After talking to Hermione, they both stood up and sat down next to Harry. Oh, you're here, Remy, we were just discussing you, said Ronald, who was sitting opposite. Across from them, Harry greeted Remy and Hermione. What bad things do you say about me behind my back? Remy asked with a smile. I'm not saying anything bad. We were discussing whether you can lead us to win this year's House Cup. I heard that Gryffindor hasn't won the House Cup for a long time. Harry explained. Count on me. Remy's eyes widened in disbelief. You expect me to give extra points to the house? Please, if I don't deduct a negative number from Gryffindor's score, it will be considered a poor performance, okay? Everyone. What kind of self-destructive wolf statement is this? Are you a spy sent by another college? Haha, are you kidding? Ronald asked. No, I really don't like studying. Remy said, I know a lot only because my teacher often told me some interesting stories when I was with him. I have never finished reading a serious magic book. I always fall asleep while reading. So I read it when I can't sleep. The hypnotic effect is great. Everyone. You really are here to be a spy, right? Just when everyone didn't know how to evaluate Remy, Hermione coughed lightly. If it's just a test on textbook content, I should be able to do it. I've already finished reading all the textbooks for this school year. If I'm given another 2 months, I should be able to memorize them. Hermione said. Already finished reading? Can I memorize the textbooks in 2 months? A bunch of poor students immediately took a deep breath and offered to pass cigarettes to the big guy. No, they wanted to pass tea to the big guy. Seeing Hermione blending in smoothly and chatting about study and the House Cup, Remy turned his attention to the teachers' seats. Looking at a certain man with a bun who was whispering with the greasy Uncle Snape, Remy's hand was itching to shoot him on the head. He carried more than one gun, and not just childish weapons like revolvers. While he's off guard, I should be able to shoot Voldemort in the back of his head, right? No, that's not right. Voldemort should be in a possessed state right now. In this state, bullets can't threaten him. I'll shoot you after you're resurrected. Remy calculated silently. If the Dark Lord, who despised Muggles the most, was shot dead by a Muggle weapon, this news would be very exciting if confirmed, and it should be able to unlock a legendary achievement. It's a pity that it can't collapse now. Remy once conducted an experiment with Nicholas Flamel, and found that if the wizard was prepared, even the most common defensive spell could block the bullet without any damage. Of course, Remy wasn't experimenting on Nicholas Flamel, but on a magically protected piece of beef. Guns can only be effective when the wizard is caught off guard. In the teacher's seat, Dumbledore keenly noticed that there was something wrong with Remy's eyes, as if there was an unusually dangerous light in them. Following Remy's gaze, Dumbledore's heart skipped a beat. Could this child have noticed something? Dumbledore thought. At this moment, Professor Quirrell, who was being stared at by Remy, also noticed that someone was staring at him. He raised his head, noticed Remy, gave a kind and heartwarming smile and nodded. He throws me a peach, and I repay him with a plum. Remy also smiled slightly and used his hand as a gun to make a shooting gesture towards Professor Quirrell. Dumbledore was startled by what he saw, thinking, it's over, Remy must have seen something, the plan might go wrong. But Professor Quirrell obviously didn't understand the meaning of Remy's gesture at all. He even responded to Remy's table manners with a smile on his face, and raised his wine glass to gesture to Remy. Remy immediately laughed and raised his glass to signal Professor Quirrell, even though they were drinking fruit juice. Compared to the two smiling people, Hermione and Harry, who were sitting on Remy's left and right, looked at Remy with confusion. They understood the meaning of Remy's gesture just now. It was not a greeting etiquette. Well, it could be considered a greeting, but it was not friendly at all. Remy, did you and Professor Quirrell know each other before? Did you have conflicts? Harry asked. I don't know him. Remy said with a smile. Then why did you make that gesture to Professor Quirrell? He gave me a bad feeling. I felt there was something strange about him, so I wanted to test him. So what did you find out? Oh, I observed the sky at night and found that this person has two faces. He is one person in front of people and another behind their backs. He is truly a beast in human form. Harry. How did this suddenly get to the topic of observing the night sky? Divination. Hermione asked. Do you know how to do divination? I think divination is just a trick for kids. If magic exists, why doesn't divination exist? Remy said, do you know? The first time I saw you, I saw your future. See my future? Is this true or false? Seeing Hermione's suspicious and curious look, Remy smiled and held out his hand. Don't believe it. Give me your hand, I'll confirm it again and tell you your future. After a moment's hesitation, Hermione handed her hand to Remy. A smile suddenly appeared on Remy's lips. This trick of tricking girls into giving you their hands really works every time. In the Far East, there is a divination method called palmistry. Just by observing a person's palm lines, you can predict that person's future, said Remy. Is it true? Can you see the future by looking at your palm? Harry asked curiously. Look, this is called the lifeline. Hermione's lifeline is very long, but there are a few places in the middle that are not connected like other places. One of them is even broken beyond recognition. This means that Hermione will have a long life, but she will encounter several dangers in the middle. One of them will encounter several dangers in a short period of time. Fortunately, after she gets through it, everything will be smooth sailing. Remy spread out Hermione's little hand as he introduced her, and pretended to be serious as he looked here and poked there, taking advantage of her. But the person being taken advantage of is completely unaware of it. Are you kidding? How could I possibly be in danger so many times? Hermione said. Remy smiled and shook his head, then pointed to another line on Hermione's palm. This one is called the career line. Your career line is also very long, which means that your highest achievement in the future will be very high. Hey! What's wrong? What did you see? Hearing the urgency in Hermione's tone, Remy smiled slightly. Hooked. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.